Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes ruthless and cold part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Whack. The sounds of a beating being delivered echoed through the alleys. As good a place Konoha was, there still is a darker side to it. Despite the efficiency of the Uchiha Shinobi police, it is not possible for a city to reach that size and not have bad neighborhoods. In this case, the police wouldn't have done anything even if they did stumble across the scene. In an alley right next to a dumpster, 3 teenagers in ratty clothes were beating a small blonde boy. 2 of them were just hitting and kicking him, but the third hadn't done anything yet. He wanted the other 2 to have their fun before he went off on the kid with a homemade club. That was just a 2x4 with barbed wire wrapped around the end. "Hey, let's gut this fag and get out of here," said the first kid, hitting him on the head one more time for good measure. "Right," said the one with the club. The first kid stomped on his rib cage one more time for good measure, and then kicked the blonde boy in the teeth to make him more complacent, and then stepped on his throat. The second kid grabbed his legs and held them down. The kid with the club lifted it up and brought it down on the kid's stomach, then savagely tore it back, ripping the burlap sack that was his shirt and slicing huge ragged gashes on his stomach. The small kid let out a muted scream thanks to the foot on his throat, while causing the other boys to grin. "Hey, I know, let's cut this fucker's balls off," said the one whom was holding his legs. The guy then let the kid's legs go and went for something. The small boy went limp, not resisting, not yet. He knew he was only going to get one shot at this. The other boys felt the blonde relax and let their grip up slightly, thinking that he had simply given up. The boy with the club walked toward a particularly promising pile of trash while the other one had taken up the role of lookout, not really paying attention to the boy whose throat he was stepping on. They had been there too long. The shinobi police were not lenient on street urchins. The blonde looked down at the boy who was going to try and castrate him, produce a homemade bottle glass knife. The blonde waited for him to get closer. When he was one knee and leaning forward, he lashed out with his right leg, catching him right on his nose, effectively flattening it out completely, and causing cartilage to smash into the brain. The kid's head jerked back, but then began to fall forward, already dead. The blonde couldn't take that chance though and kicked him again on his way down, smashing in his face, and coating the boy's leg in blood and brain matter. All of this transpired in less than 2 seconds. The blonde had maybe a second and a half before he was noticed. So he grabbed the knife. The other boy caught this movement in the corner of his eye and looked down in horror as the kid took the knife and rammed it into the place where it would cause the most damage, his crotch. The kid gave a twist and pulled out the improvised blade, causing a lot of blood and the kid's lower intestines to spill out. The boy let out a blood-curtailing scream as he reached down in a futile attempt to catch his bowls and hold himself together as he fell on the ground. The other boy, who was halfway down the alley, was just now getting what had happened and was already on the way over, fully intent on killing the kid. The blonde barely had time to flinch as the older boy brought down his brutal club on his head while yelling at the top of his lungs that he was going to tear him apart, creating yet another big gash, and was done with such force that it easily fractured his skull. Now blind due to the amount of blood leaking into his eyes, and broken, the young boy was convinced he was dying. But he would be damned if he didn't at least try to take the cocksucker with him. So he slashed out with the knife blindly and happened to be lucky. He didn't know what he got, but it was low and made the kid fall with a scream. The older kid, not to be outdone, he swung his club and it landed with a sickening thud on the younger kid's throat, and was relieved to hear the wet hacking sounds of the kid drowning in his own blood. By this time, all of the screaming and continued screaming by the castrated boy, who was quickly bleeding out and would soon go into shock, had caught the attention of the local citizens, who did nothing really because this really out of the ordinary. But a patrolling shinobi of the police force heard it, and started towards the fight. The local Uchiha shinobi arrived a couple of seconds after this, which was very lucky for the boy because he was bleeding out fast. The older boy hobbled away as fast as he could right past the castrated boy, who was now dead in a pool of his own blood and intestines. It took only a second to decide what to do. Seeing as there might be a chance, however slim it might be, to save the child, he did just that instead of going after the wounded teenager. Thankfully, the kid was covered in so much blood that the shinobi simply didn't recognize him, as was now sprinting as fast as he could in the direction of the nearest hospital with an OR. Kakashi Hatake was leading his Umbu team back to the Hokage Tower to report on a mission success when he caught sight of a Chunin running with a bloody and broken Naruto in his arms. Kakashi quickly signaled to his second-in-command to proceed without him and moved to intercept the Chunin, being much faster than he was. The Chunin handed over Naruto on the run with no objection. Still running, Kakashi looked down and glanced at Naruto to assess his condition. Kakashi was, needless to say, shocked at the amount of injuries and at the fact that he was somehow still alive. Kakashi's run turned into a reckless sprint as he ran for all he was worth. Naruto's mindscape. Am I dead? Naruto thought out loud. He looked around and saw that he was in some kind of sewer laying in 2 inches of water. Even with very little light, he decided to walk around since he didn't have anything else to do. It wasn't long before he came across a massive chamber. As Naruto walked farther in, he looked in awe at a huge gate with a piece of paper with the word seal on it. As he got closer, he suddenly heard breathing, the sound of something huge and carnivorous. Naruto started backing up, deciding to leave, when he looked up only to be greeted by the sight of two huge crimson eyes with vertically slitted pupils. He had no idea how he had managed to miss those eyes or the insane amount of killing intent. This place reeked of malice and hate. Naruto was not ashamed to admit that he was afraid. Naruto was only 7, but he had seen a lot. He had killed, seen people tortured, and been tortured himself. And all for the reason that they simply could do it. Naruto knew how cruel and evil people could be. But none of that even compared to this thing, this monster. This was a true monster, the personification of evil itself. He nearly choked in fear when a huge grin appeared out of the abyss, complete with very large and sharp teeth, not to mention the incisors alone were like tusks. Not exactly sure what they're called, but I mean the teeth normally associated with vampire fangs. Maybe I should just call them fangs? The fox was very pleased at the reaction he was getting from the boy. The boy was terrified even though he only chose to show him his eyes and teeth. He still didn't want to reveal his identity for various reasons and plans he had. Also, it was scarier for mortals when they can't see. However, his euphoria was short-lived as the boy ceased to exhibit and smell of fear, and became calm. "Are you not afraid, boy?" the fox said in a deep, intimidating voice. The fox was surprised when the boy didn't go into an explanation and simply stated no. The fox waited for the boy to explain, but when nothing was forthcoming, he said in his deep, drawn-out tone, "Explain. Unless pissing oneself will help someone survive, I don't think that being afraid is going to help me. So, I decided not to be afraid," Naruto said simply with a sigh. The fox was for the first time in his existence dumbfounded. The boy decided not to be afraid? This boy was even more surprising than his sire. The fox thought with an inward chuckle, very much looking forward to what was to come. Not wanting to give anything away, the fox continued as if nothing had surprised it. "Very well, we do not have much time, your body is dying, and quite fast I might add. I am offering a deal that will save your life in the process." "What is the deal?" Naruto asked in genuine curiosity, thinking why would a demon want to save me? Though also knowing that he would probably say yes anyway. Crimson red boiling chakra leaked out of the gate and stopped in front of him. From there, a giant scroll seemed to materialize out of nothing. An even more demonic smile appeared than before, though not getting the same reaction as before. "Unfortunately for us both, there's no time to go over the details. However, we can amend it later if we both agree on it." This was bad. There was absolutely no way he could trust this monster that was obviously a demon. For all he knew, the fucking thing was lying, and he was signing his soul over to this thing. "Tick-tock, tick-tock. You have maybe another 30 seconds before you die," said the beast with a sadistic ring in its voice. However, he was going to die anyway, and he didn't think his actions thus far deemed him worthy of heaven. What did he have to lose anyway? "Fuck it, what do I have to do?" Without skipping a beat, the fox told him he had to open the scroll, cover his entire hand in his own blood, and then just slap it on the scroll anywhere. The giant scroll was immediately filled with symbols that he didn't understand. This was all accomplished in less than 7 seconds. "Now what?" Naruto asked, starting to panic as he felt nothing happening. "I can't heal you completely, but I can keep you alive long enough for the other mortals to get you stable," said the fox, and watching Naruto was slipping into unconsciousness, even in his own mindscape. This was not going to be an easy transition. The fox was talking to himself in his own mind before he too would fall into a slumber. A most interesting boy indeed. If I can have fun on my own, I might as well have it through the boy. He's already got the hate, but still, what kind of man will he grow to be? This may be more fun than I thought, the great fox demon thought to itself as he slipped into a coma of sorts. Kakashi was almost on the verge of panic when he got to the hospital. He was sure it was due to the Kyuubi that the boy was still alive. But even that had limits. "Get this boy to an OR now," Kakashi yelled at the first nurse he ran into. The nurse hit a panic button that was on a necklace. Then, without skipping a beat, both them put Naruto on a gurney. The nurse focused entirely on Naruto's neck, regardless of any of the dozens of wounds and internal bleeding. If they couldn't stop the bleeding, nothing else would matter. Naruto's pulse was weak now. She could tell even before she put her fingers in his neck and pinched to close his jugular vein. She could tell this because his blood was not squirting out like it should have been. Then, taking a look at his body, she realized that he probably didn't have much blood left anyway. A team of doctors and nurses arrived seconds later, immediately going to work putting IVs in him for blood and such, all the while running while pushing the gurney to the nearest OR with a surgeon. All the while Kakashi was right beside them, though somehow not getting in the way. Looking at him, with his oxygen mask on, and after they cut through his improvised shirt to get it out of the way, he almost started panicking again. On Naruto's head there were 2 big gashes, on high up on his forehead, and the other on his scalp on the top of his head. Besides his throat being slit, his neck was fine. His torso, on the other hand, was a mess. 2 of his ribs on the left side were actually on the outside, having broken through the skin. On the right side of his rib cage, it was slightly caved in. His abdomen had 3 huge and deep jagged gashes that didn't look like clean cuts at all. Even with the little blood he had left, they still managed to bleed profusely. And lower, His left leg looked like it was starting to turn purple through massive internal bleeding. It wasn't that Kakashi had never seen this before, far from it, he had seen much worse. However, he had never seen anyone survive such injuries. When they did happen on missions as captain, it was his responsibility to perform mercy killing. He also realized that there was nothing more he could do. All he could do was inform the Hokage and pray. And that is when I decided to report to you, said Kakashi to the Hokage. Sarutobi sighed. All right, you're dismissed. Before I leave, what will we do with him if he happens to survive? Kakashi stated rather than asked, implying that something was going to be done about the boy's safety no matter what. Now is not the time, but you're right, something will have to be done. If you wouldn't mind, could you spend part of your leave at the hospital and notify me on the results? You'll think of some way to get around the law and at least help him out. We will discuss the details then. Sure, no problem, Kakashi said without hesitation and started towards the door. Right before the Hokage was going to open his mouth, Kakashi said while still walking towards the door, I understand, this will stay between the two of us. Sarutobi sighed as Kakashi left and just sat there in the dark for a moment reflecting. Besides Orochimaru, whom he somehow didn't catch on to the fact that he was a total psychopath, despite him being a former student of his, Naruto's fate was his greatest failure. Flashback. Sarutobi was rubbing his temples with 2 fingers each being on the verge of a migraine. Meanwhile, almost the whole council was screaming at the top of their lungs. There were 3 different sides to the argument/screaming match going on. The first and most dominant was for execution, the second was against execution, and finally the smallest group was not saying anything and remaining neutral. The person that they were arguing the fate of was a newborn still sleeping somehow in a crib in front of his desk. The demon must be destroyed for the sake of safety and revenge, yelled someone from the civilian part of the council. The cheers from that statement far outweighed the yells of opposition. This greatly worried him. It was time to finish this before he couldn't do anything about it. As if this dragged out too long, Naruto would surely die. Silence! Yelled Sarutobi, letting out a significant amount of killing intent in it as well. He had to remind everyone who was really in charge around here before he could do anything, as he absolutely refused to let Naruto burn at the stake. We will discuss this matter calm and collected as it should always be. I will not stand for chaos in the council. There was no movement for a few seconds. Outbursts like that were very rare from the aged Hokage. However, he was always dead serious when he was like this, and quick to hand out severe punishment if necessary. On top of that, looked to be in a lethal mood. Now, would those against of the child present their case? Though he said it in a tone clearly saying that this was not a request. A civilian stood up. The boy is the QB, and I don't see a problem in the execution of a monster. Besides, it will give the entire village peace of mind knowing that the beast is gone, and their loved ones avenged. There were grumbles of approval, though no one started shouting anymore. Now, would the defense present their case? Sarutobi said in an almost hopeful manner. As far as he could tell, surprisingly almost all shinobi were on Naruto's side, or at least remaining neutral. But the council was still half civilians and therefore needed a majority vote on all non-military matters. Knowing that this would never happen in Naruto's favor, he started thinking up a compromise. Shikaka Nara stood up. I don't know how much you civilians know about Jinchuriki, but they are simply hosts, and nothing more, depending on the skill of the sealer and the seal used. Considering that it was Minato that sealed him, I think it's safe to say that we're okay. He would not have done this unless he knew the boy could handle it. Besides, he could make a very valuable asset to our military strength, said Danzo, the old warhawk and leader of Root. Despite all of this, the civilian side wasn't backing down. Sarutobi saw where this was going. If he didn't finish this soon, they would start turning members of the neutral party to their cause, forcing him to do something drastic. He had a compromise in mind, but he really was hoping that it wouldn't come to this. He raised his hand and the chamber settled, and all were silent. I have a compromise that everyone can agree on. There were a few murmurs of disbelief, but they were going to hear him out. A. Naruto will live. B. There will be no interference on his quality of life from anyone. And C. He sighed and looked up, seeing everyone waiting for the final term. He will be placed in an orphanage in the northwest section of the village. There was silence and looks of shock on everyone's face. Even the normally cold and indifferent Heishi Haiga, whose jaw dropped in shock. What Sarutobi had just proposed might as well have been a death sentence. That part of the town was avoided by everyone else, and was seen as the criminal cesspool of the village. For kids it was especially dangerous, and was not uncommon for them to die at a very young age. Assuming that the orphanage didn't kick him out, he would most likely be dead before he turned 6. Are there any objections to this? Several shinobi were about to stand up and object, but realized that this was probably the only way Naruto could live without the Hokage declaring martial law. The civilian members were fine with it because of the life expectancy, quality of life that was unavoidable in that part of the village, and the fact that he would be with the undesirables and they wouldn't have to put up with him. So be it, Sarutobi said with great sadness in his voice. Danzo was thrilled. This couldn't have turned out better in his opinion. He knew the boy wasn't the demon, but he still wanted one for the village's use. Yes, the 9 tails will keep him alive, and when he becomes old enough he'll get Sarutobi to let him into the academy if he isn't already planning that. But by then, he will be cold, hard, and ruthless. This is exactly what I need. Now all I have to do is wait. Danzo visibly smiled to himself. It had been almost 8 hours and Naruto was still in surgery. But it also meant that he wasn't dead either. Kakashi was starting to get tired, and even reading his Ika books had limits to entertain him. But he refused to leave. He had to at least know if he was going to live, but if he had lasted this long, chances were that he would make it, what with the fox and all. Suddenly some nurses and other medical staff came out of the OR, and seemed relieved. How is he? Kakashi asked, trying to hide the desperate note in his voice. We don't know yet, we're just the junior staff and we were just replaced, so we're going to sleep. The young resident said in a tone that said that he was done talking, even hinting at being rude. Kakashi was in no mood to be polite, and promptly moved to the door, blocking their way. No one is leaving until I get a status report, he said in a tone that mimicked his mood and his one visible eye narrowing dangerously. Before any of the young residents that really shouldn't have been there in first place could say anything stupid, as they clearly had no idea who they had just pissed off, an older nurse stepped forward. I'm sorry for their stupidity, Kakashi-san, I can give you an update. Kakashi recognized her as an experienced nurse who had been there a while. He had seen her before. That's fine, the rest of you can go, he said with a still angry look while the young residents and surgeons walked away as fast they could without openly breaking into something faster. They didn't know why exactly, but they felt in danger around the silver-haired ninja. Sorry about that, they've got a lot to learn, she said with a sigh. That's fine for now, but how is he holding up? Well, the vote is still out. He had a lot of internal bleeding and a few ruptured organs, not to mention the numerous broken bones. For a while we just focused on stopping the bleeding and trying to repair the more vital organs. He was damn lucky his heart wasn't damaged, she said with a relieved tone. Kakashi liked her already. What organs were affected the most? Well, his left lung was punctured by the 2 ribs that broke out of the skin. But the right lung was just under pressure. Once we set the ribs in the right place, it was fine. We have him on a ventilator right now and he is showing no signs of breathing problems. One of kidneys was ruptured, but we were able to save it. That's when we switched personnel to get some fresh people in there. Seeing that he has survived so long, and due to his host, I think he will pull through. Kakashi sighed in relief. But then realized what she had just said. Do the other doctors know who he is? He said, clearly worried that if there might be an accident that caused Naruto to die. As far as I can tell, no. I just recognized him because I was the one who put the ventilator in and stitched up the gashes on his head. I realized that his hair was actually blonde and not red. That and the whisker marks were a dead giveaway, but they're covered up by the mask now, so I doubt they will figure it out till he has been cleaned up. Again, another sigh of relief from Kakashi. How much longer will he be in surgery? If there are no other complications, at least another 10 hours. They're going to start setting the ribs the right way now and make sure all the big arteries are okay. Then I guess they'll move on the next broken bone they find the most serious, or try and fix anything new they find. You look pretty tired. Why don't you go and sleep in the doctor's lounge down the hall? It should be empty and I doubt you will be disturbed. It was true, Kakashi was very tired, borderlining on exhaustion. He had easily been up at least 48 hours. There's nothing else you can do here, get some sleep, she said kindly before leaving to either go home or sleep in one of the beds in the hospital for doctors and nurses. He hoped the later there weren't many that cared for, or at least didn't care that he was a Jinchuriki. Naruto was going to need someone who would look out for him when the news got out that it was him they were treating. He didn't know how long Naruto would take to recover, and he couldn't be there all of the time. But she was right, he might as well sleep. Naruto wouldn't be out of surgery for a while and he might need to protect him once the word got out. 9.5 hours later, Kakashi was still worried despite the fact that the surgery was still ongoing, which meant that Naruto was still alive. He met the nurse again in the waiting room and learned a little about her. First of all, her name was Ellen. She was old enough that she had been here back when the San and Tsunade still ran things. In her opinion, things had deteriorated a lot after she left. It was true, Tsunade had made a rigorous training program for any and all staff of the hospitals. Doctors were put through a lot more training before they were even considered to become doctors rather than just staying residents. She had insisted on interviewing and assessing any and all medical staff. The door opened from the entrance in the main lobby, and none other than the Hokage himself walked in. Kakashi, still in Umbu at the time, though he wasn't wearing his mask at the moment, automatically got down on his right knee with his right fist on the ground with his head bowing down. You're not on duty, Kakashi, you don't have to bother with the formalities, at least not now. The Hokage said in a neutral tone. He didn't want one of his Umbu getting too relaxed, not even Kakashi. How is he doing? Well, I don't know much other than he has been in surgery for the last 17 hours. I presume it means that he is still alive though. The Hokage nodded and had an expression on his face that clearly meant he was worried. Though, I think we need to talk later about Naruto's condition. Again Sarutobi nodded. They could not talk here. They didn't know who else might be listening. They'll have an Umbu squad protecting Naruto after he's out of surgery, and as soon as he's in his room. How did you manage to get protection for him? Isn't that a violation? Kakashi said with a puzzled expression. Well, Naruto is a citizen of Konoha, and our laws state that I can do whatever I can, or rather want, to ensure the protection of its citizens. Sarutobi said with a smug look. I gather the council wasn't too happy about this? Kakashi's one visible eye made an upside-down U indicating that he was smiling. No, they weren't, but they didn't fight it too much. Even if he makes it out of surgery, the likelihood that he will survive is still very small. Now said with a somber tone and a sigh. It was true, for normal people with half of the amount of internal bleeding and damage, even if they made it out of surgery, they would usually die within 48 to 72 hours. But Naruto was not normal. It was another 3 hours before he got out of surgery. The doctors were understandably exhausted, even though they had switched the main surgical staff. Ellen was there though and said that Naruto would not be able to receive visitors for a while, as he was going to be in the ICU for a while. With the knowledge that he was at least alive and hanging in there, Kakashi left to report to the Hokage. With no one else in Sarutobi's office, it was safe to talk freely. Well, as soon as Naruto can talk, we're going to have to talk to him to see how much he knows, and what exactly happened, Sarutobi said in a serious tone. Kakashi, looking just as serious, said, I agree, something must have happened. Naruto lost much more blood than his body is capable of carrying. I'd say at least 3 times the total amount. The only logical theory that I can at least come up with is that the fox was creating blood cells and keeping him alive. They were both silent for a moment. Something must have happened. The fourth didn't design the seal to allow that much interference, at least not yet. Hopefully he can tell us when he wakes up, Sarutobi said, nodding his head in agreement. I would like an extension on my leave. I'd like to be there when he wakes up. I have a plan to help him out without breaking the law. Sarutobi raised his eyebrow and had a look that clearly said, oh really? Well, okay, it might be bending the law a little bit. But the council doesn't need to know. Besides, you're the one that they're really worried about. I don't think they even consider the fact that a shinobi would try and even bend the law. Okay, mind telling me what this grand plan is? 2 conspirators talked for a while before Kakashi finally went home for a little bit to clean up and get some real rest before he went back to the hospital. Back at the hospital, Kakashi looked up Ellen and asked for an update. So far, he is doing better than we expected. He has been here before, and I know that he is a fast healer. Basically saying that the QB was helping. How often is he here? Kakashi asked, intrigued. He didn't think the medical staff would do too much to help him. Oh, only every once in a while. He comes when he doesn't have much of a choice, when he's hurt bad enough that he can't stitch himself up. Like when he breaks bones. Though I usually take care of him. I see. With his healing rate, how long will it before he is conscious? Well, this is just guessing, but taking into consideration the amount of damage, I would say about 2 to 3 days. There was also a minor skull fracture that we really couldn't do that much about. So the best thing for him is to sleep right now. Kakashi was still relieved even if his chances of recovery only increased a little bit. Well, I might as well get comfortable here. With an Umbu team guarding his room, he should be safe. Being a member of Umbu himself, he knew that even if the entire team hated Naruto, orders were orders, with no exceptions. Only the best were allowed to even go through the first testing phase of training. And most washed out there was something like a 60% attrition rate. If you got an Umbu, you did what you were told and kept your mouth shut, unless you were either given permission to speak, or were reporting to your superiors. So with that in mind, he laid down on the couch in the waiting room, and started to read his porn. 1.5 days later. Ow, that's bright, someone turn off the fucking lights, thought Naruto as he was just regaining consciousness. After trying to get up, he realized that it hurt too much to move, and he was strapped down, though now everything hurt. All in a flash, it all came back to him, the beating, dying, and signing the contract with the monster. He inwardly shuddered at the memory of being near it. Well, I'm alive, that must mean the thing kept up his part of the deal, though I still have no idea of what my part of it is yet. The lights turned off suddenly. Is that better? Someone asked. Naruto slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the big mask on his face with a tube going out of it leading it somewhere he couldn't see. He recognized this as a ventilator, which meant that there was a tube in his throat. As much as he thought it would be bad, or at least a weird feeling, he didn't have the energy to try and breathe on his own, so he didn't mind. He looked around with only his eyes, not being able to move his head, and saw a tall ninja with a mask with only one eye and whose silver hair that apparently the laws of gravity didn't apply to. He was too tired to think about him, and all of this was actually a lot strain on him, and he fell to sleep again. To say Kakashi was relieved was an understatement. He was ecstatic. He had always felt bad about not being able to be in his sensei's only child's life, even if it wasn't his fault. He had to be careful though. Naruto wasn't like other kids. He was forced to grow up fast and think only of survival. When Kakashi read the report of the Chunin that found him, he was going to have to ask Naruto if had killed before, and how he had managed to kill 2 of the teens and wounded the other one that had an improvised club. If he wasn't careful, he would just end up ruining any chance of getting through to him. He was going to have to think of a plausible excuse to get him to trust him. When he and the Hokage were talking, they both agreed that they had to get Naruto off the streets, even if it was only for a short time. With that in mind, he left to tell the Hokage that Naruto had at least regained consciousness for a little while. but on the way out he bumped into Ellen. "Oh hey," Naruto woke up for a second, said Kakashi with a skip in a voice. "That's great. But I need to talk to you for a second, especially if he just woke up for a moment." However, she seemed a little worried. Kakashi put on a more serious face and nodded for her continue. She took a deep breath. "After his surgery I kept a close eye on his chart and condition. He was healing very fast." "Well, Naruto does heal faster than normal people do to his condition," said Kakashi, not sure if he liked where this was going. "You don't understand, he's healing very fast, even for him. Something must have happened." "I don't know, and I don't want to know, I just thought that you should know." Kakashi nodded and they both parted ways. Actually, Kakashi was already aware that something had happened, and not just because the fox had kept Naruto alive either. When Naruto had opened his eyes, they were slitted. "I see," said the Hokage with a sigh. "I'm afraid this means that I will have to be there when he wakes up. If something on the seal has changed, I need to know about it." Kakashi nodded in understanding. The Hokage created a clone to stay in his office and do paperwork and left with Kakashi to wait in Naruto's room. "I'll turn that off," said Naruto the second he opened his eyes. The lights dimmed a second later. "Wait, that means that someone is here," he thought with a slight feeling of dread, remembering the ninja that was in his room earlier. Every encounter with ninja in his life had ended in pain, of feigned ignorance of him. "Well, there were a couple times when those guys in masks saved me from the mobs chasing me." He had learned long ago, after a few painful reminders, to stay away from the nicer parts of the village. Actually, his experience with the rest of humanity was pretty limited. He had never really explored anywhere but the undesirable part of the village. When he was younger, he would fantasize about it, thinking that there was like mountains gold and stuff like that. But as he got older, he just stopped caring and accepted his situation. "Hello, Naruto," said an old man with a funny hat. After a second he recognized him as the Hokage and tried to scramble away. People were always hurting him in the name of the Hokage, so he understandably wanted nothing to do with him. As he tried to scramble back, he realized that everything hurt a lot. Before he could fall off the bed and hurt himself even more, that strange ninja with one eye caught him and put him back in a more comfortable position. "Take it easy, we're not here to hurt you, we just need to ask you a few questions," said the ninja. Naruto didn't really believe him, but why would the leader and most powerful ninja in the village come and visit him? "What do you want?" Naruto said, still very worried. He had absolutely no way to defend himself. Even if it wouldn't have mattered, he didn't like the feeling of being a fish on the ground. He didn't think he could roll over without help right now. "We need to know what happened," said the white/silver-haired ninja in a somewhat soothing tone. This only served to make Naruto even more suspicious, but he doubted he could lie to them. He had seen the low-ranking ninja jumping over rooftops and moving very, very fast. He couldn't even imagine what these guys were capable of. "Well, I was digging through the trash behind the bakery where I assume I was found. Sometimes they throw edible food away. And two older kids showed up, so I started to leave. I didn't want to be around them. When I was walking away, I was blindsided by the third one." He then proceeded to tell them everything he could about the fight, hoping that it would appease them. It didn't, not entirely anyway. Sarutobi waited patiently and listened to Naruto's story. He needed to take it slow as the boy was clearly nervous and scared, so much so that he wasn't even trying to put up a front to hide it. He probably hasn't had good experiences with other shinobi. Any cop patrolling that part of the city would have a short temper anyway, and it only makes it worse that he is seen as a reincarnation of the Kyuubi to a lot of people. Also, he wanted to get a feel on how the best way to approach the subject. If anything had happened, it would be the last thing Naruto would want to talk about. So far, it seemed that, judging by the way he was telling them in detail of how he had killed two people, he thought the be honest and truthful approach was the best way. Even though Sarutobi and Kakashi had decided that Sarutobi would find the best way to bring up the demon, and Kakashi would listen and give a kind of PHYC evaluation from what he said later, how he said it, and his body language. So Sarutobi was focusing on his job, but still, he couldn't help but notice the slight smile that crept up on Naruto's face whenever he talked about hurting them. He clearly had some very sadistic qualities. He would not have blamed the boy if he had turned into a total sociopath because of the way he had been treated. And as much as it hurt to even think of it, it wasn't confirmed that he wasn't one, at least in not his mind, if he wasn't. Sociopaths were very manipulative, and very good liars. Their entire thought process was different than normal people, thus making normal tests useless unless the examiner knew who he was dealing with. By the way Naruto was talking, and what he had seen through his crystal ball in his office, the few times he worked up the courage to bear his shame and looked to see how he was doing, Naruto had so far grown up in the perfect environment to develop a killer. "And then I woke up here," Naruto said, hoping that it was what they wanted to hear and they didn't know more than they were letting on. "I believe you," said the Hokage, being truthful. Naruto sighed in relief at this. However, Naruto's heart stooped for a moment. If they found out that he had signed a contract with a demon, no matter what the motive, he would surely be killed. Deep down he already knew that they knew somehow. Why else would the Hokage and his apparent bodyguard bother with a surviving street urchin in another homicide? "I do not think that you are telling us everything," he said in a tone indicating that he was calm and not dangerous to him. Naruto was not convinced. I realize what we are asking, and would be very hard for anyone to tell anyone else. So I am going to be straight with you. Before anything else is said, I want you to know that no matter what is said, we are on your side. I swear I will do everything that I can to help you. I know you probably don't believe me, so just tell me what to do to gain your trust. This was it, Sarutobi thought. This was where something good will happen, or something bad. Naruto was thinking hard, and was not sure how to answer that. He knew that they were telling him the truth, his gut instinct was telling him to believe him, but his brain was telling him not to. But no one had ever talked like this to him before. The Hokage himself was being completely honest with him, and wanted his trust. On top of that, he was asking him how to prove himself. Can you answer a question? He decided on finally. Of course, as long as it doesn't expose any secrets that is classified. Naruto nodded at this in understanding and cleared his throat. How did you know about it? Well, that's a good question, and one I can't answer fully. But I can tell you that we have known about the demon for some time, and that it can only contact certain people. You surviving brought you to our attention. Naruto was almost relieved, someone he could talk to about it, or at least knew about it. That and that they knew about it, and he wasn't dead, not yet anyway. That and something that Kakashi here noticed, he was the one by the way that got you to the hospital and saved your life. Naruto nodded in appreciation. If there was one thing, one lesson that he learned, was to respect the people who really deserved it. And if he was here, it meant that he probably knew about it when he saved him. That was good news and defiantly warranted respect. Here, let me show you. Try to stay calm now, okay? Said Kakashi in gentle tone. Kakashi raised a handheld mirror so that he could see his own face. He instantly knew something was off. He wasn't sure what yet though. The first thing that caught his eye was how much swelling there was. Not that that was anything new, but he was really fucked up. Then he noticed the whisker-like birthmarks were a little darker and thicker than normal. Nothing he couldn't deal with. Then he saw what was a dead giveaway. His eyes, they were still that deep blue sky color, but his pupils were now vertically slitted. That was very bad, something he couldn't hide, something that he would be prosecuted and hated even more for. His jaw drooped in horror when he realized this. Then, as if that wasn't bad enough, he noticed something else, his teeth. They were all clearly sharper than before, and his fang teeth were now almost twice as long as before, and sharper. All in all, he had a very feral-looking face now. Naruto, said the Hokage in a gentle voice, I think you need to tell us the rest of what happened, and how you felt during it. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. Now that it was clear that it was in the open, that he had done something, there was no point in hiding anything anymore. So he told them everything they wanted to know and more. They asked questions that he didn't even know that he knew the answers to. After he was done, there was silence for a moment. Naruto closed his eyes waiting for death, something that no matter how bad things got or seemed, he would never submit to it before. He would defy it till the end, and only accept it only when he was dead. The killing blow never came instead. There was just the feeling of a hand griping his. Naruto opened his eyes and what he saw shocked him. The Hokage was crying. I am so sorry, Naruto, that you had to do that, he said, though he was quickly getting over his little weak moment. That was the last thing Naruto expected from the Hokage. From every single experience that he had ever had, any form of empathy was taken advantage of, and actually crying, especially if it was for help, drew even worse monsters out of the darkness like the predators they were. It utterly shocked Naruto, and his reaction was not missed by Kakashi. Anyway, we're going to take you off the amount of morphine that you're on and give you something to help you sleep. Even for you, enough exposure to this amount of morphine can be dangerous. Naruto nodded completely at ease. If they killed him in his sleep, that was great. It was a luxury that wasn't handed out very often, and besides, if they wanted him dead, he would be. Those were the thoughts he had before slipping into blissful unconsciousness. Now back in Sarutobi's office, he and Kakashi discussed their findings, and future plans on how to deal with this. This can be very bad, said Kakashi in a depressed tone. I know, but we need to make our decisions wisely, and not in haste. Kakashi nodded in agreement. I agree, the first step is to find out exactly what the details of the contract he signed are. This time it was Sarutobi's turn to nod in agreement. We also have to be careful not to piss off the Kyuubi. For some reason he hasn't revealed his identity to Naruto. I don't think we should tell Naruto either, at least not yet. And there lies yet another problem, Sarutobi said while rubbing his temples. If we want to find out anything, we more or less have to communicate through Naruto. And that means telling him a lot more than he should know. Yes, but I don't think we have a choice in the matter, unfortunately, Kakashi said in a somber tone. Well, since we really can't do anything more on that now, and I think we should wait to do anything like that until he is healthy, let's move on to his psychological condition. Turning back to Kakashi. Kakashi again sighed before he started. In short, he is a fucked up kid. I have to admit, for a little while I thought he was a sociopath, so did I, but I don't think that anymore. I'm positive that he does have at least the semblance of a conscience, as he isn't genetically hardwired that way. But it will take a while to develop, though I don't think he will ever be completely as he should have been. This is just a theory, but I think that he would have had a sadistic nature to begin with, just like his father, but he never had anyone that understood him, or to guide him in the right direction and teach him right from wrong. That and the obvious fact that the environment that he grew up in more or less made it develop a lot more. Just from the evident calmness and joy that he had seemed to have when he was telling us about killing those kids, it's a wonder that he isn't a full-blown psychopath. But I will need to observe him a lot more to confirm. Sarutobi accepted this as the truth. Kakashi was not an Umbu captain for nothing. Very well, have you come up with a plan yet? Sarutobi was referring to the plan to expose Naruto to a normal life, at least for a little while, and try to get him to trust them. And at the same time not break the law. Yes, actually. As soon as Naruto can be moved, I'll take him to my place till he recovers, telling him that it's not that safe at the hospital. He will be suspicious of too much friendliness, so I'll tell him the truth that I won't be there that often due to missions and such. I'll leave him food, and simply tell him to take care of himself, and not to mess up my place. That should satisfy him. Sarutobi nodded. Well, I think that's enough for today, Kakashi. You should drop by tomorrow and tell him our plan to find out about the contract. Right, said Kakashi before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. The old Hokage sighed again and started to rub his temples. So, you want me to talk to this thing and figure out the details of whatever I agreed to? Said Naruto in a skeptical voice. In short, yes. But this doesn't need to happen right now, it can wait till you have recovered. Just keep in mind that the demon may contact you before that, so just try to prepare yourself. Kakashi was trying to be as honest as he could. It was going to be a very slow process, but he was going to try to soften Naruto up, though it was clearly going to take years. Until then, we can't let you go until we're sure you're not dangerous to anyone. Naruto nodded, he had expected this. So what's your plan? Are you going to keep me in a cell or something? What? No, you're going to be staying at my place when it's safe to move you. As I'm sure you have noticed, your healing rate is very fast, but it is still too dangerous to move you right now. Naruto groaned. Great, something else that's different about me, though I suppose it could have been a lot worse. At your place? Naruto was genuinely curious at this. It made sense that they would want to keep an eye on him, but to have this guy allowing him into his home? And where is that? Thinking that maybe it was some kind of remote cabin in the mountains or something like that. Oh, it's in a part of the village that you've never been to before. Well, I guess you could call it a home. It's actually an apartment. It's on the exact opposite end of the village than where I found you, said Kakashi with his weird upside-down eye smile. Naruto wasn't sure whether or not this was a blessing or a curse. He supposed that he might as well take advantage of it while it lasted. But I won't be taking you there for at least another week, so for now just rest. Sorry, we really don't have any kind of entertainment. I'm sure you must be bored. Naruto just shrugged at this. He was actually enjoying his stay, despite the pain. He had never been in bed this comfortable, or slept without being cold. Well, anyway, just thought you should know, Kakashi said, smiling again right before he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto blinked in surprise. He had a clear view of the door, and the window was still closed. Who the hell is this guy? Okay, it's official, I have no life. This is the third chapter one have written in less than a week. I'm not even going to bother guessing how little, or how often I will update. When I reread this, it seems that it's going a little slow. Rest assured, Naruto will start a form of training, and then there will be a small time skip, hopefully all in the next chapter. Not too much gore or anything in the last two chapters, but rest assured, it coming. It had been a week and Naruto had not heard, seen, or well, anything about or from the Hokage, or that Kakashi guy. This both comforted, and made him nervous. Comforted, in that they weren't checking up on him, as far as he could tell anyway. This could mean that they either didn't see him as much of a threat, or had simply forgotten him. Neither seemed remotely realistic though. And he was nervous because he knew that they were going to come for him soon. He was just tired of waiting. He wasn't sure that they meant everything they said, and were probably lying to him. Or at the very least, they knew a lot more than they let on. Kakashi was right. Naruto was bored but comfortable. He wasn't bothered by anyone, so this left him a lot of time to think, and dwell on everything that was said. He remembered that in his unusually emotional state, he had missed a connection that was made. The Hokage had said that they knew about the demon for some time, which meant that they knew a lot about it and didn't tell him. For the most part, they had been honest with him, or at least let him know when they couldn't tell him everything. So they probably had a good reason not to tell him. But Naruto didn't like being left in the dark like this, so he was going to ask anyway and see what they had to say. He was also curious about that Kakashi guy. He seemed pretty strong. He was actually wondering how much he was going to be able to find out about him when Kakashi showed up. Or rather climbed through the window. This confused Naruto even more because they were at least 7 stories up. Hi kid, all packed up? Kakashi said in a joking manner, seeing that Naruto apparently owned nothing. Naruto pretended to be offended when he actually felt better. He didn't know Kakashi was joking and thought he was just being a dick. Thus being somewhat familiar to him, made him feel at ease. Oh yeah, I brought you these. I don't think your eyes have had much exposure to how bright it is outside yet. Kakashi gave him a pair of sunglasses. Alright, let's go, Kakashi said, checking his watch as if impatient. Naruto started for the door but was stopped. Where are you going? Come on, let's go, Kakashi said in a tone that was unfamiliar to Naruto. Kakashi was kneeling down and had his back to him. What the hell are you doing? Naruto asked, clearly annoyed. Just hop on already. I do have other things to do today, you know. You want me to get on your back? Naruto said in an almost bewildered tone. Of course, now let's go, Kakashi said, feigning to be annoyed again. Okay, Naruto said in a skeptical way. Alright, Kakashi said when Naruto was secured in a piggyback position. Then he walked to the window and climbed out. What the fuck are you doing? Are you crazy? Naruto screamed, squeezing Kakashi's neck with all the strength that he had. Just hold on tight, Kakashi said in an amused voice right before he jumped out the window. Eh? Naruto screamed at the top of his lungs, forgetting that it was still hard to talk and breathe deeply. Naruto kept his eyes closed, waiting for them to hit the ground and die, but the impact never came. The only thing he felt was the wind in his hair and that weird feeling in your stomach when you're rising or falling too fast. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and was convinced he was hallucinating for a moment, and then he remembered who he was with. To say Naruto was impressed was an understatement. This was amazing. They were practically flying over rooftops far faster than Naruto had seen those other ninja go. Though Naruto didn't know it, he had only barely scratched the surface of what ninja were capable of. Kakashi wasn't even going as fast as he could. He was making sure that he landed lightly so this wouldn't hurt Naruto. That was, until he saw Naruto grinning like crazy in the corner of his eye. Kakashi smiled at Naruto and started to do some aerial acrobatics, busting out back flips and gainers, and a whole lot of other things that were really only useful to show off with, but they were working. Naruto had started laughing and giggling. He was only 7 after all. Kakashi purposely took a very long route to his place to give Naruto more time to enjoy. This was the first time he had seen the kid so much as smile or show any sense of humor. Naruto was having the time of his life. This was amazing. Even though he almost threw up a few times, it was worth it. For a little while, everything else was forgotten. None of it mattered: the demon, his wounds, the threat of imprisonment or death, the knowledge that he was just going to go back to the streets after all of this was done if he survived. It all disappeared for a precious few minutes. But all good things must come to an end. Kakashi knew that he couldn't keep this up forever. The longer he did this, the more he would have to explain to Naruto when they did finally get to his place. So with that in mind, he went to his place and landed on the porch in front of the door. Whoa, what was that all about? Naruto said on Kakashi's back. Kakashi inwardly sighed. I knew it. Oh, that? That was just training. I do have to keep my dexterity up after all. Naruto nodded, indicating that he believed him. He didn't know anything really about how ninjas got as strong as they did, and it wasn't something that was worth lying over. Besides, what was the problem? That was fun, Naruto thought to himself while keeping a blank face on the outside. Shit! Where are my keys? Kakashi muttered to himself while digging through his many pockets on his flak jacket. This went on for a few minuets with Naruto on Kakashi's back, and then Naruto got an idea. Though he doubted it would work, but it wouldn't hurt to try it. So he reached over and grabbed the doorknob and twisted. When the handle did turn, they both froze. Naruto not sure if the deadbolt was locked pushed. Then, the door opened. They were both still for a second when they both sweat drooped. Kakashi sighed, and saw that Naruto was trying to hide a small smile. Shut up, Kakashi muttered with another sigh, pretending to be annoyed again. This caused Naruto to actually smile for a moment. Kakashi was slowly learning how to get Naruto to laugh. Kakashi walked over to his couch and laid Naruto down carefully as he was still very sore. There was already a pillow there, and the second Naruto's head hit it, he started to get tired. Within a few moments he was asleep. Kakashi put a blanket over him and checked the time. It was only 1 in the afternoon. Oh well, I think I made some progress today, although he will probably forget it when he wakes up. This little excursion probably exhausted him. Kakashi left to finish his business for the rest of the day, which included reporting to Sarutobi on Naruto's condition. Making sure to lock the door on his way out, he felt that if Naruto did wake up, he would feel more comfortable this way. This may sound strange, but Naruto would never believe that he was anything but a prisoner kept for observation. Acting like it was anything other than that would just result in Naruto resenting them and defying any and everything they did to try and help him. Oh shit, how long was I out? Thought Naruto as he woke up to the all too familiar ache of pain. He remembered where he was and how he had gotten there. He felt different all of a sudden. His face hurt, not in the same way that it usually did when he got beaten up, but more like something he was doing was feeling very uncomfortable. Then he realized that he was smiling and instantly stopped. The uncomfortable feeling went away almost instantly. Interesting was the word that came to mind. He was a little hungry, but he felt too lazy to get himself up and try and find some food. Actually, what should I be hungry for anyway? What time is it? Naruto checked the electric clock on the wall, did a double take. No fucking way was his first thought. It was 1:30 in the morning, and he could see perfectly. No, he could see clearer and better than he could ever remember, and he could tell that it was pitch black. This is fucking awesome, was the next thing that went through his head. He sat there thinking about all the cool things he's going to be able to do with, and avoid with his newfound night vision. Then he heard someone walking towards him. He instantly froze in place. Instinct and experience had taught him that if he dove for cover, they would pick up the movement rather than the image. At least it was like that at night. But then that Kakashi guy walked in and walked right past him, heading for what he assumed was the kitchen. Then he remembered that this was Kakashi's home after all. And a nice one too. He thought in awe, having never seen a clean apartment before. "What are you doing up?" mumbled Kakashi as he trudged by, still waking up, or just tired and up for whatever reason. "I just woke up." "How long have I been asleep?" "Oh, just over 12 hours now," responded Kakashi after consulting the same clock that Naruto had looked at. Opening a soda while telling him. Naruto watched him eagerly out of the corner of his eye, trying to look inconspicuous, as he still hadn't seen Kakashi without his mask. Little did he know that this was going to eventually turn into a lifelong pursuit with no end in sight. He never did see Kakashi's face. He somehow managed to move in just the right ways to get his face just out of sight. When half of his soda was gone, Naruto gave up and lost interest, not caring anymore, at least for the moment. Naruto was nervous, but so far they had kept their word, to be honest, and he was going to keep his. Though he really didn't care if he was dangerous or not. He could care less about all of the innocent people that he could kill, but Kakashi and the Hokage had earned his respect at least. And that deserved honesty. Kakashi?" Naruto said hesitantly. "Yeah." Kakashi responded lazily while flipping channels on the TV. I noticed something different about me," Naruto said, cringing slightly when Kakashi turned the TV off. "And what's that?" Kakashi asked in an interested and now very awake tone. Naruto took a deep breath. "I can see in the dark." "How good is your night vision?" Kakashi, now very interested, which was making Naruto nervous. "It's better and clearer than I've ever been able to see in my life." "I see. Well, we kind of suspected that because of the sensitivity to light you had when you first woke up. In fact, it wouldn't be that much of a stretch if all of your senses have been heightened," Kakashi said in a thoughtful tone. Naruto was relieved. They were expecting this and seemed to be fine with it. "Just so you know, when you're ready, I have the ability to go with you when you see the demon." Naruto's eyes widened. "You do?" "Yep. How?" "It's complicated to explain, but I just thought you should know it's an option." Naruto thought hard on this. "No, I don't know how it will act if you come. But I'll ask next time I see it," Naruto promised. Kakashi nodded and was satisfied with his answer. "Well, I'm a little hungry. You want me to get you something while I'm up?" Kakashi said while getting up off the couch and started to walk towards the kitchen. It took Naruto only a second of thought to answer yes. Might as well take advantage of the free food while it lasts. Kakashi went and made 2 cups of instant ramen, remembering that ramen was his sensei's favorite food. Naruto was skeptical yet again when Kakashi handed him a steaming styrofoam cup of instant ramen. "There's a surprise," Kakashi thought dryly. Soon he wouldn't have to worry about pretending to be annoyed by Naruto. The second Naruto tasted it though, his face lit up, if only for a moment. Bingo was the word that came to Kakashi when he saw Naruto trying in vain to hide how much he was enjoying the stuff. "Hey, what's this stuff called?" Naruto asked, trying to sound nonchalant as if he really didn't care. Kakashi decided to tease him a little bit. "What stuff?" he said, acting innocent, though not actually looking at him and still staring at his TV. The food." "Why do you want to know?" asked Kakashi in a suspicious tone. "Well, I kind of like it." Naruto said the last part in a whisper. "What was that?" "I couldn't hear you." Naruto was getting angry. Kakashi knew exactly what he had said and was now just jerking him around. "I like it, okay?" Naruto screamed, completely red-faced. Kakashi looked unaffected and said in a tired tone and with a yawn while poking his inner ear with his pinky, "It's called instant ramen. I'm going back to sleep." "You should too. I'm going to wake you up in the morning. Good night." Naruto was about to ask if he could finish the ramen before we went back to sleep when he realized that he had already finished it. "I gotta find out how to get more of this stuff," he thought as he stared dumbly into the empty cup for a few seconds. Then he carefully laid back down and was asleep almost as soon as his head hit the pillow. In the morning, Kakashi woke him up briefly for a few minutes to explain the rules. They were pretty straightforward: don't mess up my place, and clean up after yourself after you eat. Also, you're not allowed to leave the apartment, at least not yet anyway. Oh yeah, and there's nothing worth stealing in here that would be valuable to you, so don't bother looking. Other than that, just try and get some rest. You'll be back in a couple of hours." Kakashi said all of this before disappearing in a cloud of smoke again. Naruto shook his head and went back to sleep. He woke up in the middle of the day and didn't feel like doing anything. It was the first time he had ever had the luxury of not having to watch his back and be on the lookout for food. So he was going to enjoy being lazy as he watched the mindless sitcoms while he waited for Kakashi to get back. The problem was, Kakashi wasn't back in a few hours. He didn't actually get back until like 11 o'clock at night. Thinking Naruto was asleep, he just walked in and turned the TV off and went to bed. The next couple of days went on like this. Not that Naruto minded that much. He was enjoying his privacy almost as much as he enjoyed that ramen stuff. Until the 4th day, when Kakashi got up one morning and walked up to him. "Feel up to going for a walk? It's a good idea to stretch out your body now." Naruto nodded. He was starting to get a small case of cabin fever. Here, put these on, Kakashi said as he tossed him a bag with some clothes. I hope they fit, I had to guess your size. Naruto took a closer look and realized that they were kids' clothes and decent ones too, all with an urban camo look and seemed to be pretty well built. Why, said Naruto, his eyes narrowing in distrust. No one gave anything away unless they were getting something in return. To spare my public image, can't have you walking around in hospital scrubs now, can we? Kakashi said with another smile. It made sense now. He didn't want to be embarrassed by him, but still, he didn't have to take him for a walk. I don't know what to say, said Naruto, honestly bewildered. Say thank you? Kakashi offered as he turned around. Thank you? Naruto knew what it meant, but he had never ever actually used the words before. Thank you? Said Naruto, clearly unfamiliar with the words. You're welcome, now go get dressed so we can leave. Naruto complied and went to the bathroom, which was quickly becoming his favorite room in any home he ever happened to be in. Baths were not that common or really required where he lived, as everything always smelled pretty much the same anyway. Here, he could bathe whenever he wanted, even if it was just to soak in hot water. He did this frequently as it soothed the still fresh stitches and such. But now, he was quickly getting better. Actually, he could pretty much fend for himself right now if he had to, but he was determined to milk this experience for all it was worth. His clothes were pretty basic, but were still in a whole other class from what he was used to. It was a black long-sleeved shirt that was a little loose feeling, a pair of boxers, and a pair of urban camis for pants. These were quite possibly the best clothes he had ever had. He met Kakashi outside and was again reminded of how sensitive his eyes were. But they quickly adjusted this time. Still, Kakashi handed him a pair of sunglasses and he put them on without complaint. They just took a short walk to a park, which was quite possibly the most beautiful place he had ever seen. But he tore himself away from it. He wanted to ask Kakashi something. Hey, can I ask you something? Sure, I'll answer it if I can. Can anybody become a ninja? This is what Kakashi had been hoping would happen. He had purposely done jutsu and more or less shown off in front of Naruto to get his attention pointed in that direction. But still, he played it cool. Sure, as long as they start training when they're still a kid, Kakashi answered in an offhand way, acting as if he didn't see how much Naruto was hiding his excitement. There was one thing that he wasn't so sure about. If Naruto did become a ninja, he would eventually become very powerful. It was inevitable. But what would Naruto do with all of that power? For all he knew, he would just go off and start killing anybody that crossed him, or learn just enough, go back to his neighborhood, and kill any and everyone there. But you do have to have a good reason, or else they won't let you. He added, still in an offhand way. I see. And that was the last thing Naruto said for the rest of their little walk. It was 2 days after that and Naruto was starting to get bored. He was almost all the way healed now and he wanted to go outside and do well. He really didn't know. Then it came to him, he wanted to go fighting. That was always fun. To Naruto there was a big difference between fighting and a fight. Fighting, in his mind, was kind of premeditated. When you were in a real fight, there was no warning. You were taken by surprise and either got the shit kicked out of you, or you died. When Naruto got in a fight that he knew was coming, usually it was a lot less dangerous, and a lot more fun. But he didn't think Kakashi would like that, so he wouldn't do it, at least not while he was staying here. While Naruto was staring off into space contemplating all of this, Kakashi walked in. Naruto, I need to talk to you for a second. He said in a tone that had Naruto a little worried. I'm leaving on a mission later today, and I won't be back for at least a week. I trust one can leave you here alone? The last part being said in an almost threatening manner. Sure, I won't mess anything up, said Naruto, quick to reply. Good, now, while I'm gone, if anything happens regarding the demon, go to the Hokage's tower. It's not too far, so I'm sure you can manage. Isn't it a little dangerous leaving me alone? Naruto said without realizing that he may have just reminded Kakashi put him in a cell or something. Yes, it is. But no matter what, eventually you will be on your own anyway, so there's no point in waiting and worrying. Besides, the Hokage himself is prepared to deal with whatever may happen, he said with a smile that Naruto wasn't sure if it was supposed to scare or reassure him. On that note, you will be able to go outside. What? I didn't say you could go back to wherever it is you live, but you can go outside as long as you think you won't get lost. In fact, here's some money to spend and buy some new clothes with or something. Naruto took a peek in the wallet shaped like a stupid frog that Kakashi gave him. Naruto gasped. There was at least 10,000 yen in there. Naruto immediately narrowed his eyes in suspicion. If you're wondering why I'm giving you that much money, well, I guess it's because, Naruto was almost leaning forward in anticipation and tension. Because I feel like it, Kakashi said with a smile, and Naruto's face faltered. You feel like it? Naruto had no idea what this meant, or how to comprehend it. Well, yes, you see, I'm an ANBU. This got Naruto's attention and he was soon listening intensely. We get paid pretty well for our missions. Problem is that we don't get much of a chance to spend our money, or else I wouldn't be living in an apartment. So why not? Knock yourself out. I'm pretty sure you're not stupid enough to let people know how much you have, and won't spend it all on candy," Kakashi said with amusement as at the mention of the latter Naruto reddened a little bit. He was, after all, just 7. And had spent the last couple of weeks in luxury. Kakashi was also glad that Naruto wasn't smart enough to realize that he wasn't supposed to tell anybody he was an ANBU Black Ops member. Kakashi had left yesterday and Naruto was truly happy and excited for the first time in his life. He had pockets full of money, new clothes and some hand-me ninja sandals, a full stomach, and the full intention of cracking some other kids' heads. Yes, this was going to be a great day. The first thing he wanted to do was find a weapon shop. He was tired of having glass knives break in his hands and other crude objects that didn't always work, or could hurt him almost as much as it hurt them. And he knew exactly what he wanted to buy. A trench knife. He had seen a lone shark use one on some hooker once. It was beautiful, so many different uses. As he was walking around, blending in with the crowds for the first time in his life, he finally noticed a couple of kids a year or two older than him hanging out in a sort of alley between stores. Then, he noticed that they were pushing around a small girl. Normally, he wouldn't have done anything. He was brave, but not stupid. But when he got a better look at them, he noticed that they were all wearing fairly new clothing. He didn't realize it, but he was staring at them while he was thinking, not actually seeing anything. What's with these guys? They have the same look on their faces as the other kids from my neighborhood, but they're wearing nice clothes. Wait, there's something off about them. It's like they're playing or something. Naruto was wondering and thinking about this when, before he realized it, one of them pushed him on the ground. "Hey, the fuck are you staring at, Blondie?" said the tallest one in an intimidating manner. Then he caught a glance at the other kids behind him, all with eager expressions on their face, and one of them holding the girl in a kind of headlock. What are they waiting for? What is this guy waiting for? I'm already on the ground, why is he still talking and not kicking the shit out of me? Then it hit him. They were faking it, all of them. They were just spoiled rich kids, like he saw from time to time riding in carriages on the only big road through the northwest part of Konoha. They were just acting tough. Being pissed was nothing compared to what Naruto felt right now. He was seething. He wasn't even sure why he was so angry. He just wanted to kill every single one of these punks. Naruto didn't so much as yell or make a sound as he got up and socked the older kid in the gut. He doubled over where Naruto grabbed his hair and kneed him in the face, twice. The kid's nose pretty much exploded and he was on the ground just holding his face crying. The other three were so stunned that they just stood still as they watched Naruto grab a wooden chair from the right side of the alley and run towards them swinging it along the way. It hit the kid on the far right. The chair predictably just smashed against him and broke into a few dozen pieces. The now wounded kid with a broken arm was knocked against his friends and took them down with him, the girls suddenly nowhere in sight. Naruto didn't wait for them to get back up, so he took the remaining piece of chair that was still in his hands and just started to rain down blows on them, as many and as fast as he could. He had let his guard down though, and the older boy from earlier grabbed him from behind and threw him into the street. Before Naruto could get up and cause any more damage, both physical and egotistically, the kid took a piece of the chair and while taking a page out of Naruto's book, ran at him swinging. Naruto was getting up and turning around when out of nowhere, wooden plank, or something similar came into view and hit him square on the jaw. The wood, already weakened from Naruto's earlier abuse, and the fact the kid was at least 12, caused the piece of wood to shatter when it hit him, knocking him flat on his back. To onlookers, it looked as if the wood had hit him with such force that it simply exploded. At least that's what it looked like to Hayashi, Hinata, and Hanahaiga. Not to mention the bodyguards surrounding him. Naruto didn't wait to get pounced on the kid though. When the kid got close enough, Naruto got on his side and kicked the boy in the side of the knee, causing him to fall down with a scream. Naruto, again taking the initiative, mounted the boy and started to hit him as hard as he could, fully intent on knocking out every one of his teeth. Before he could get more than a couple hits in though, he was grabbed from behind and put into some kind of hold that he couldn't get out from, or use his hands. When he looked up, he saw why. Facing him were at least 4 tall and pale people with white eyes that had no pupils. Shit. Was the only thing that could come to mind. He had heard rumors about these people, Haigas, practically royalty with ninja powers too, and that meant that he was fucked. Alright, here's the next one. I promise you gore, and I delivered it in this chapter. I hope it's alright, I kind of felt like I rushed this one a little bit. Oh, and a special shout out to Wanshir Tong, XX Pyro Sam XX, and P5YCH0. Thanks guys, I really appreciate what you said. Hayashi was intrigued to say the least. At first he was angry, then shocked, curious, and finally he felt respect. He was angry and worried at first for a while when he realized that not only had his daughter managed to slip by not only him, but also the 4 bodyguards that were with him. Relieved, and angry when his daughter ran back to him bawling, telling him between sobs about how she was being bullied by a couple of big boys and one small kid had saved her. They instantly set out to find and punish the ones responsible for daring to bully and lay their hands on Haiga. They rounded a corner just in time to see a piece of wood explode on a small blonde's face. His guards were just about to interfere when he stopped them. He was not the clan head for nothing, He saw that the boy was not unconscious and was waiting for the other one to get closer. He decided to give the kid his chance while he asked his daughter if he was the one that had rescued her. When she nodded that he was the one, he looked back and started to observe the kid much more closely. He didn't have a lot of time though, as the kid was probably going to kill the older one if he kept hitting him like that. He gave a slight hand movement indicating that his guard should stop him. After his guard had restrained him, his mask of cold indifference nearly fell when he saw the face of the blonde. There was no doubt about it, it was Naruto. Hayashi was no fool, he knew what, and what Naruto wasn't, but he didn't know anything about who the boy was. What you are is dependent on your genetics, but who you were was dependent on your experiences and how you reacted to them. He had known the boy's parents quite well, but that was only a small piece of the puzzle in front of him. Hayashi watched as Naruto at first struggled in vain, with an angry look on his face, then his face turned to that of shock when he realized who was standing before him, then to horror as he saw his sunglasses on the ground shattered. Probably noticed he wasn't wearing them anymore when he felt the pieces of tinted glass in his cheeks, and finally his face turned into a defiant look when he looked right back at Hayashi and made eye contact. As if you say, yeah, what are you looking at? If the tall pale man was surprised or intimidated by Naruto's eyes, he didn't show it, his face was completely blank. He watched as the man started looking around and Naruto did his best to follow his gaze. He first looked at the boy that Naruto had just been pulled off of, who was still on the ground making weird noises right before he spit out a bloody tooth, which Naruto couldn't help but smirk at. Then he looked in the alley where the other kids were moaning on the ground trying to get themselves up to get away. Right then 2 Uchiha shinobi appeared on the scene and stopped the boys from getting away. Sorry about getting here so late, Hige-sama, said one of them with a slight bow. We will take it from here, said, gesturing to Naruto with a sadistic gleam in his eye. Naruto just glared back at the cop. He had never met this one before, but he knew that look. They didn't even know what had happened yet and he was already at fault. Basically what he had to look forward to was about a week of getting the shit kicked out of him and then being kicked back out on the streets. Hayashi caught the look in the cop's eye, and the look that Naruto gave him. He had come to the same conclusion that Naruto had and was not going to let that happen. I don't know why he interfered and saved my daughter, and it may have had nothing at all to do with her. But he still saved her nonetheless anyway. That will not be necessary, Hayashi said in a commanding tone. The boy saved my daughter from those maggots on the ground over there, Hayashi said, nodding his head to where the man's partner had tied up, or rather had simply dragged over the other kids and set them down in a heap. They weren't going anywhere. I see, but does that really matter, sir? Said the Uchiha in an honestly confused voice. The boy is innocent, and they are to blame. I don't see the misunderstanding, Hayashi said, his voice in a now disgusted tone. The cop visibly winced and nodded, bowed again and left with his partner to take the other kids to the hospital. Now, why did you do it? Hayashi was now facing Naruto and looking at him in the eye again. I'm going to have to ask the Hokage about that latter, Hayashi thought, making a mental note of it. They had it coming. Naruto responded without hesitation, still not breaking eye contact. Naruto was confused about one thing though. Where is the girl I saved? I see, did this have anything to do with my daughter? Hayashi wanted to know exactly why he had done it. He wasn't going to be able to keep Naruto much longer, and he wanted to get as much information as possible. She had a little to do with it, yes, but for the most part the punks were just being stupid and were just faking it. I really don't know how else to describe it, Naruto said in a pondering tone. He really couldn't understand why he had felt so angry. He just knew that those kids needed to get their faces broken. Hayashi studied the boy for a few more seconds and nodded, satisfied that he was telling the truth. I don't like being in anyone's debt. Here, take this as payment for services rendered. Hayashi tossed Naruto a bag of coins after the guard had released him. Naruto nodded, accepting this, and had just put it away when he caught a glance of a girl peeking around the man he was talking to, apparently hiding from him. She had the same pale eyes as her father, but her face was red. Is she sacred of me, mad at me? Why is she hiding? It's not like I can hurt her. He just shook his head. Girls were so weird. After Naruto left, Hayashi turned around only to realize that both of his daughters were hiding behind him. He was puzzled for a moment until he caught sight of the blush on his older daughter's face. His younger daughter, looking confused, was probably just following her sister's example. Oh great, Hayashi inwardly sighed. He was about to say something when he froze in place. Oh Kami. Hayashi's face paled even more than was natural as he remembered his former friend's exploits, and what a lady killer he had been. The picking up of women on missions, the bragging about it later just to piss him off. All of this was passing through his head as he looked down at his Hinata and audibly groaned as he remembered his earlier thoughts on genetics and stuff. You be damned, Yondaime, was the only thought he had as the first emotion seen on his face in public in years surfaced. A mixture of anger and horror. He was sure he could see his old friend/rival's face in the sky laughing at him. Naruto decided to cut his day short after that and just head back to Kakashi's place. He doubted anyone was going to sell a knife to a beat-up kid anyway. After he got back to the apartment, he went into the bathroom and started to pick pieces of the sunglasses out of his cheek. He was going to have to figure out another way to hide his eyes. Might as well buy some new ones with some of the 3,000 yen that Hige gave him. With that in mind, he went to sleep. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes and immediately knew where he was. Back where that fucking demon lived. He gulped and swallowed down his fear as he set off to find the thing and get this over with. It didn't take as long as last time, but it was defiantly harder this time now that he knew what was going to happen. He took a deep breath and settled himself for whatever lay ahead, and started to walk into the chamber. Are you afraid now, boy? The demon said with a sadistic glee in its voice. Naruto scowled. This thing knows full well that I am. Naruto thought while he was contemplating just telling the thing to go fuck itself, but he decided against it, and held his tongue. Yes, I am, said Naruto in a now annoyed voice. He was only to get even madder when he was responded to by a deep rolling chuckle. Interesting indeed, his is afraid, yet not afraid to admit it. We need to talk. The first of subjects is about your current caretaker, Kakashi. This caught Naruto's attention. Tell him to come and pay me a visit, in private. In private? Naruto was wondering if that meant he was going to have to wait in the sewer/hallway while they talked or something like that. I can hear what you're thinking, so please stop, or at least try not to be an idiot. Just tell him and he will know what to do. Now on to the real reason of our little get-together, our contract. The monster was now grinning, which was making Naruto both very nervous and scared. Yes, we never really got to finish our little discussion from last time, did we? Naruto was unsure if he was supposed to answer that or not, so he just shook his head. Unfortunately, that is why I have to talk to that mortal Kakashi. You're too stupid to have that long of a conversation with and remember it. Naruto nodded dumbly, actually thankful that he wasn't smart enough. He wanted to be around this monster as little as possible. Now, part of the deal that I can explain to you is going to force you to become something you already want to do, become a ninja. For one perfect moment Naruto's whole world lit up. He was going to become powerful, strong, he was, and then he felt it. Bloodlust that was radiating out of the prison stopped all of his thoughts in a second. It was so strong that he dropped to his knees. It was almost like being infected with a virus that targeted every atom in his body. It felt like liquid fire running through his veins. He wanted to kill, butcher, and torture. He felt sick with it. It almost felt good to be this completely consumed by just an emotion from this monster. It stopped as suddenly as it came on. Just the fact that he was having dry heaves and convulsing in his own mind was enough evidence of how potent it had been. He wasn't even sure how he was supposed to feel about it. The monster, however, continued to go on as if nothing had happened at all, though on the inside it was chuckling, having done that on purpose. Just to see the boy in the fetal position he was in now was an amusing enough reason to expose him to that. First, you need to get out of the city and into the surrounding forest. I will briefly summarize on what you are to do once you get out there. The Kyuubi then told Naruto, who was still lying in the fetal position, how to survive out in the wilderness. Although he left a lot out, simply telling him the basics on how to survive, leaving him to figure the rest out on his own. Then he told him about basic strengthening exercises to do. Oh, and one more thing, if you're not out there within 2 weeks, well, we will start to have extended visits, you and I. The Kyuubi said this with a wicked grin, clearly stating that those visits would not be pleasant. Naruto quickly nodded, and then as if nothing had happened at all, he was back in Kakashi's apartment. Naruto promptly ran to the bathroom and threw up. The next day Naruto set out to find a weapon shop. It was a little harder to find than he thought it would be, but he got what he was looking for. His brand new knife that cost him 4,000 yen was a work of art. He bought it out of a ninja store, so it was very well made. It was a reverse grip trench knife, with the blade on both sides. It was about 2.5 inches wide, the blade itself being 8.5. The smith had also somehow figured out a way to forge the blade black, so it wouldn't reflect light. Then there was the built-in steel knuckles, while not bladed themselves, still could cause a lot of damage. He couldn't wait to test it out on somebody's face. The sheath and belt was designed to wrap around him. One loop went around his midsection, while an additional strap that was connected went over his right shoulder, leaving the knife to rest in the front on his right ribcage. Later that day he spent an additional 5,000 yen on different clothes and equipment that would come in handy. A hatchet and flint stones were among the things he bought. He bought some combat-ready clothes for every part of his body. This covered everything from gloves to socks. He would never understand why everyone didn't wear combat-ready clothes. They helped you blend in with camouflage, they had a lot pockets, they were easy to clean, and easy to repair if they happened to get torn. They almost never wore out though, they were designed to last. How can you go wrong? He was the most proud of his cloak though. It could hide him, keep him warm, and had a lot of built-in pockets. It was a dark green color, making it perfect for the forest. It was worn over all of his other clothes on his shoulders, and had 2 very well-made clasps that strapped it to his chest, rather than his neck. All in all, he looked like a completely different person now, albeit a very young and small person, but looked different nonetheless. He soon ran out of money though, but was still satisfied with his purchases, though it had been hard to find stores that were willing to sell anything to him. He did however find that he was most likely to get a good reaction out of stores whose owners were either ninjas, or had ninjas in their family. So he kept an eye out for them and made a mental note of where they were for future reference. He knew that he knew almost nothing about living in the wilderness, even if it was very close to Konoha. he was going to be on his own. But he figured that he was prepared as much as he could be. Kakashi was 3 days late, which Naruto was beginning to expect, but he also had a present ready for Naruto. "What's this?" Naruto asked, eyeing the box Kakashi was holding out to him as he accepted it cautiously. "It's a present," said Kakashi with an eye smile. "To help you out when you get to the woods." Naruto's eyes widened at this. "How did you know?" Naruto replied, the shock in his voice evident. Kakashi had literally walked in the door a minute ago and had somehow figured out where he was going. "The Umbu that were watching you told me about it when they reported to me. It's pretty obvious where you're planning on going based on the gear and equipment you've been buying." Naruto nodded at this, expecting that he was going to be followed. Sometimes he could have sworn that he could feel someone watching him. "What made you want to head outside the city though?" Naruto took a deep breath. "The monster told me to." Kakashi's eye widened. "Okay, tell me what happened." Naruto proceeded to tell him just a brief summary, saying it hadn't told him why, just that he had to. "But it also wants to meet you, in private. It said that you would know how to do that," Naruto said in a relieved tone. "I don't blame him. I don't relish the idea of meeting that thing either." "Okay, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to put you to sleep, and then I'll do my thing. You will be asleep for the rest of the night, so you can leave in the morning." "Okay?" Naruto nodded, wondering if he was going to hit him and knock out or something, but Kakashi just got on his knees and reached for the metal plate with the leaf symbol covering one of his eyes. "Are you ready?" Naruto nodded. Kakashi raised his height eye and Naruto caught a glimpse of Kakashi's Sharingan spinning before he fell asleep. Kakashi took a deep breath. "Alright, here I go." He lifted Naruto's eye, lit up, and entered his mind. Kakashi found himself in the sewer that was Naruto's mindscape. He took another deep breath and started walking down the corridors, following a killing intent so potent that you could almost see it in the air. It wasn't long before he came across the great gate with the seal on it. "Kakashi Hightake, we meet again. Well, let's get this on with. First, let's start with all of your questions. List them all. I don't like being interrupted when I talk." The QB stated as if its time was being wasted. Kakashi nodded. "What are the specifics on the contract signed? What does Naruto have to do to keep his end up? How has this changed him both physically and mentally? Why are you helping him? Why do you want Naruto out of the city?" And Kakashi took a breath and added his own question that he had been wondering for 7 years. "Why did you attack Konoha?" Kakashi was hoping that would be the extent of his conversation with the QB. It was unnerving being this close and seeing it again through the gate. Though he suspected otherwise, there had to be something it wanted if it asked to talk to him. "Very perceptive, Kakashi, but know that I can hear your thoughts in here. I may be imprisoned, but I own this piece of Naruto." Kakashi had to control himself not to gasp. He really didn't like the idea of this thing in his head. "I don't feel like going into specifics of the seals that make up the contract, but I can tell you what exactly it requires of both of us." The QB then started to tell Kakashi what exactly had started to happen when Naruto had signed it. "And that's all I have to say about that. Physically, it simply increased his overall potential. He may be a little stronger now, but he will have to earn the strength that he can achieve now. As far as mentally, nothing has been done. There was no need to change any of that. You made sure that he was everything I could ever want." Kakashi wanted to ask what the fox meant by this, but held his tongue. The QB simply rumbled a chuckle, Kakashi assuming that it had read his mind. "You humans never cease to amaze me in how stupid you can be. The fact that the boy could even be bonded with me means that he would have ended up somewhat like he is now no matter how he was raised, just like his sire. Let's think hypothetically for a moment. Pretend that I wasn't in the equation at all, and consider this. Your council intentionally put a natural-born killer in a violent area, and let him raise himself, knowing how powerful he could and probably would become. You know that I'm not the only reason why he is dangerous. Like I said, just when I think that humanity couldn't possibly do anything stupider, you somehow managed to pull it off." The QB laughed this out, and Kakashi realized it was right. It was entirely their fault that Naruto ended up the way he was. What were they thinking? Were they trying to create a monster in itself? Even without everyone hating him for the QB, this could not have possibly turned out much different. Kakashi shook his head and felt disgusted at the stupidity of the council, and shame at himself for not seeing this sooner and getting him out of there. The law be damned. As for why I want him out of the city, that is so he can start to get stronger and get used to living life a different way. It will make it easier to adapt to different things in the future. Then there is the matter for which I summoned you here. You will allow him to become a ninja. As for why I am helping him, that is the simplest answer of all. It is fun, and I'm bored. We are done here, leave. Oh, and to answer your question, I did it because I could do it, and that is it. There is no conspiracy at work, or any evil deed that I was punishment for. I felt like it, and that is all there is to it." The last thing Kakashi saw was the QB smiling that nightmare of a grin, while it laughed a deep-throated roar. Kakashi opened his eyes and found himself on the ground trembling and sweating. What a monster, was his only thought. Naruto left the next day. It turned out that Kakashi's gift was a pair of very decent boots. When Naruto asked why he was giving them to him, Kakashi just told him that he wanted to give them to him because that is what friends do. Naruto didn't know what to make of this, but accepted them anyway. Before I head out, I need to make one stop first, thought Naruto while he was smiling and patting his knife. He was going to track down that kid that slit his throat and thank him for giving him the opportunity to go where he never thought he would be able to. Of course, he was going to die somewhere in the thank you process. It wasn't that hard to find the kid. It was the middle of the night when he finally did, but he wasn't alone. The kid was living with some other gang rejects on the bottom floor of an abandoned building. It was also raining by the time he got there, which was good for cover. Naruto had counted 3 on the inside that he could see, and 1 outside standing guard. Naruto had never felt this alive in his entire life. Every part of him was coiled to spring. His senses were sharp. He could hear and smell like he didn't know was possible, and never had everything been so crystal clear. He didn't know why, but his instincts were telling him to get above the guy outside. He didn't see why not, so he climbed up on the opposite side of the building and made his way across the roof to the fire escape that was right above the guy. Naruto climbed down until he was about 10 feet above the kid, who was preoccupied reading a porn magazine. Naruto threw a rock across the way to get the kid out in the open. He waited for the kid to walk out a little ways and then, with his blade already drawn, simply stepped off the railing. He landed with both feet on the kid's shoulders while he buried the blade all the way up to the hilt in the kid's skull. As the kid collapsed, he smoothly did a back flip and landed quietly in a crouched and on guard position. That was great. That was more fun than being on Kakashi's back while he was running. How the hell did I do that? Naruto turned back around to look at the body, which was still spurting blood out of the giant hole in the dead center of the top of the head. He couldn't explain it. It just came to him. It just felt right. Naruto looked at his blade that was coated in blood that was dripping off and onto the rain-soaked ground and shrugged. Oh well, just go with it, I guess. Naruto was never one to question and ponder over things that he couldn't make sense of. He just accepted it and moved on. Naruto made quite a stunning figure, in his full combat attire, with the hood on his billowing cloak drawn up as he cautiously snuck into their base. The first one he found was in what they were calling a kitchen, pouring a glass of milk for himself in a piece of plastic Tupperware. Milk was hard to come by, so he waited for the kid to finish pouring it and hold it up to start drinking it before he made his move. Just as the kid was about to drink, Naruto snuck behind him and smoothly slit his throat with the knife in his right hand, while his left hand gingerly took the plastic container of milk when the kid let it go to grab his throat. After Naruto finished the milk, he crouched down next to the kid and smiled and waved to him as if to say bye-bye as the kid bled out. He got out lucky. He really didn't suffer. He carefully crept through the rest of the place until he heard voices arguing over a game of cards. Hey Lee, go and see what's taking Sanyask so long with the fucking chips. That was the kid. That voice is definitely his, thought Naruto excitedly as he waited for the bastard's friend to walk out of the room. The next kid was a little bigger than the other 2, not that it really mattered, they were all at least 5 years older than him anyway. Naruto waited behind a corner that he knew the kid had to come by to get to the kitchen and positioned himself and the knife so that the kid could just walk into the blade, but that wouldn't have been as much fun. As soon as the teenager rounded the corner, Naruto pushed the blade all the way into his solar plexus and pulled down as hard as he could. The blade gutted him like he was paper, and all of his insides, from intestines to organs, spilled out of him like a wet sack of meat splitting open. The kid's lungs were apparently nicked or something, as he appeared to be trying to scream but couldn't make a noise. As Naruto was walking back towards the game room, he heard a toilet flush as he walked by an apparent bathroom. I didn't think there would be running water here, he thought idly as he waited right in front of the door with the blade ready. As soon as the kid opened up the door, he slashed with his blade and cut at least 3/4 of the way through the neck. Right before he got a wonderful view of the inside of all of the neck's different arteries and veins and other things he couldn't recognize as the weight of the head peeled back the wound like it was one of those handheld Pez candy dispensers that he saw rich kids playing with, he realized that it was a girl that he had just killed, though he was only moderately surprised that this didn't bother him at all, and he enjoyed killing her as much as the others. Naruto was standing right behind the kid who had almost killed him. Normally, he would already be dead. People generally think that there is some kind of honorable and a right way to kill someone. This is complete bullshit. At the end of the day, even if you poison your enemy or kill him in their sleep, you are still breathing and they are not. What gets people in trouble, especially when it's vengeance thereafter, is that they want the person to know that they're going to die. But Naruto knew this and was prepared to kill him right away if something went wrong, or it wasn't convenient. But as it was, he had a chance, so he hit the kid in the back of the head with the brass knuckles part of the blade, knocking him out. He then dragged him into the center of the room, took some kitchen knives, and crucified his hands and feet to the floor. Just as he was waking up, he noticed the kid's club thing. He smiled, sheathed his blade, and went over and grabbed it. Ah, the kid screamed in obvious agony. Who are you? What do you want? Naruto just pulled his hood off and smiled. Naruto grinning when he saw that the kid recognized him. Wanted to say thank you? Then Naruto hit the kid in the face with his own club, but I got stuck on something, so Naruto tugged hard, and in doing so, tore out his right eye. The kid was now screaming for his friends and his mama to come and save him. As he was doing this, Naruto thought that his mouth made an excellent target, so he hit him in the mouth next, wriggled it around a little and tore off a piece of the kid's jaw, and most of his tongue. Before the kid died, Naruto mounted him and pulled his blade out and smiled into the kid's one working eye. He then started punching the kid's already mangled face, smiling the whole time. It didn't take long before his whole face caved in, and there was nothing left to identify him by anymore. He had even managed to somehow remove the kid's jaw by punching him. Naruto got up and considered burning the place down, but got a better idea. Instead, he used the blood and spelled on the wall, "I am back." Naruto stepped back and laughed as he wished he would be able to see the look on the faces of whoever found this mess. Naruto left the building, found where he had stashed his expensive camping backpack with all of his stuff, and left in the direction of the woods. It had been about 6 months since Naruto had left to live in the woods. Over the course of those months he had learned a lot about just about every part of life. But still, it was better than any kind of life he had lived so far. Before, other than just staying hidden and making sure that he was by a garbage can nearby so he could get food, all that was left to do was think. And since Naruto had only experienced bad things thus far, he was basically focusing and building his hate for everyone and everything. But out there, he was always busy, there was always something that he could do, no matter how much supplies he had. Over time he came to actually be grateful to the demon to which he was bound. He was still scared of it, but it was because of it that he was alive and living this way. Life wasn't easy in the woods though, far from it. Especially when he first got there. For example, his first home was a cave, which turned out to be a huge mistake. When it rained he got soaked, and he didn't feel particularly safe there anyway. But he had no idea on what to do about it, and figured it was just something he was going to have to deal with. That was, until he saw the giant spiders. He first encountered them when he was hunting, or rather he was just studying a herd of these very big deer, which were actually elk, but he didn't know that, trying to figure out a way to kill one and haul it back so he could eat it. What he didn't realize was that he had followed them right to the fringes of the forest of death. While the herd was grazing, one of them strayed a little too close to the trees. A giant spider jumped on the back of it from somewhere up high. Naruto didn't know that spiders could get that big. It must have weighed 60 to 70 pounds. As the elk panicked and tried in vain to shake off the spider that had already bitten it, 4 more of them came out of the trees and charged at it. They proceeded to shoot their webs and trip it up. After it was on the ground, it couldn't get back up and it died shortly after. Naruto watched on in fascination as the spiders wrapped up the elk and drug it back into the forest. Naruto, being very careful, followed or rather tracked them at a distance. It wasn't hard. It's not like the spiders could hide a trail from dragging a deer that weighed close to a ton. After a ways, the trail just stopped. He was disappointed at first, but then he heard a noise that sounded almost wet from above. He didn't make any sudden movements as he looked up and saw that he was right below their web nest. Then he saw the elk being lifted up by a few of them up into their web. They either didn't notice him, or didn't care. Either way, he looked around, took as much in as he could, and got the hell out of there. When he got back to his camp, he realized that he had just found the solution that he was looking for. He was going to build a tree house kind of deal. As it turned out though, it was a lot harder to do than he initially thought. Actually, it wasn't until he went into town to sell some of the rabbit and coyote pelts that he had killed and skinned that he saw a ninja store that had a lot of books on those sorts of things. He actually made good money off selling the pelts. He didn't sell them to the public, rather to tailors and store owners that would make them into coats and such and tell people that they were actually elk pelts or something like that. He was lucky that the store owner happened to be cool with him and actually helped him pick out everything that he would need. As it turned out, Naruto could afford to buy a lot more when he wasn't being ripped off by clerks who added extra things to his bill. Naruto came out of that store with a hatchet, a saw, very good needles and thread, and 3 books. One was on how to make your own tools in the wild, one was on hunting and how to really skin animals the right way, with a couple of chapters in it for making your own clothes and such, and the last one being on what plants were safe to eat, and use of healing things and how to cook good meals out of what you had. In addition to all of these things, Naruto also walked out with an empty frog wallet. After 4 months of hard living, Naruto finally felt he had a grip on things. From those books he had finally built a small tree house for himself. He was truly proud of his work. It was small, but it was only meant for him to sleep in anyway. One lesson that he had learned and brought from his old neighborhood was to never keep all of your things in one spot. Naruto had his supplies spread all over his section of the woods, and even some emergency rations that were a little farther away. Other than that, Naruto was almost happy for the first time in his life. He did miss fighting, but he could deal with that. He bought books on different spots around the Leaf Village within a couple days' walk, and went on his own camping trips. As for how he was physically, he was many times stronger, and in better overall shape than when he first came out here. This was because of several factors, one of which was that living on your own in the wild was not easy, and you had to get strong in order to haul things around and build things. His hunting built up his stamina and strength and speed, especially when he got in good enough shape to chase down the smaller deer around the place. Learning from the book, these particular deer were very smart, and wouldn't fall for the spring traps and pitfalls that he set up. So, he literally had to chase them down and wear them down. As you can imagine, this required insane amounts of stamina, but for some reason, Naruto had those reserves and it wasn't long before he could actually keep up and chase them down. And probably the most important was that not only was Naruto eating every day and on a regular basis, he was eating healthy. After 6 months of living out there, he must have put on 15 pounds. Before he was practically all skin and bones, now he looked like an athlete. He wasn't cut and ripped or anything like that, he was almost 8 years old at this point. But he was defiantly bigger and a bit more defined than he used to be. Another thing that he wanted to work on was his training for his future profession. When he decided that he should start training, he got another visit from the monster in his sleep. It wasn't a pleasant experience, but he did get some good advice, or at least he thought it was good advice. After he acted on the monster instructions, he decided to never again do anything that it explained in detail, since it usually only gave him general instructions. It had told him that in order to get faster, he had to find a beehive and punch it as many times as he could. The monster assured him that he would run faster than he ever ran before. Much to Naruto's horror, it worked. About 2 months after this incident, Kakashi paid Naruto a visit. Naruto asked Kakashi if it was a real speed exercise. Kakashi's reaction was understandable. He fell on the ground and laughed until he couldn't breathe while Naruto just pouted and gave him dirty looks. After he was done laughing, Kakashi offered to teach Naruto some things to get him started. When Naruto asked what the catch was, Kakashi just said it was a gift and he could take it, or leave it. Naruto didn't understand what it was with this guy, but just decided that he was weird like that and accepted his offer. Before he began teaching him though, Kakashi complimented Naruto on his living situation. He had to admit that he was impressed. He had sewn together the hides of animals to more or less make the roof of his tree house, or at least a cover for it. If Naruto had done a good enough job, and he did, it would easily keep him dry no matter how bad things got. Then there were Naruto's clothes. After a while, he had replaced his combat clothes with the warmer and more comfortable clothes of leather. Apparently Naruto had learned to make them from a book, though he still wore his hooded strapped cloak. Naruto tried to shrug it off, but Kakashi could tell that he was proud and happy of the compliment. Even if Naruto didn't admit it, he may not even have known himself, he did want Kakashi's approval and acknowledgement. Kakashi spent 2 days out with Naruto showing him the basics of the basics, as Naruto had never had any kind of real training in his life. He taught Naruto how to do push-ups and sit-ups the right way, and different ways to work different muscles, how to punch and kick different ways, and the right way. Naruto was surprised to find out that the way he had been punching for years was a good way to break your wrists. Another thing Naruto asked about was something the Kyuubi had suggested, though Naruto didn't do it because of his first experience. It was something called bone conditioning. Kakashi assured Naruto that this was in fact a real thing, and was a good thing to do for any fighter. It consisted of punching and kicking rocks and trees, the right way to make your bones stronger. When Naruto asked why this happened, Kakashi explained it, and it actually made sense. Basically, when you punch or kick something over and over again, your body knows that the bones are being damaged, so it sends calcium and other things to the bones in order to make them harder and denser. One thing that Kakashi really wanted Naruto to learn was his father's style of fighting. As Kakashi saw it, the Flying Thunder God technique was Naruto's by right, so he might as well start to teach him the basics of it. Of course, Naruto still had a very long way to go before he could even start to try to practice the technique. The human body was not meant to travel like that. The fourth had spent years conditioning his body to handle the strain. So he had to get a lot faster, and just keep getting faster for starters. He had gotten the idea from Guy, a friend of his, on how to start this. Of course, he wasn't going to make Naruto wear those bulky and ridiculous-looking weights. So he used something that Naruto's father had invented. They were bracers and shin guards that could be worn under the clothing. They reacted to the chakra level of the user, and thus automatically adjusted the appropriate weight. Naruto thought he was full of shit at first, and that he was just jerking him around because they put at least 40 pounds on his arms, and 50 on his legs. Needless to say, it was hard for the boy to walk for a little while. Naruto, like his father, had a naturally massive supply of chakra. It was true that the Kyuubi added to the effect, but like it said, it would only increase the overall limitations on everything, and it was up to Naruto to work for them. After Kakashi had finished showing Naruto the first forms and katas of his father's style for Naruto to work on, he spent almost half a day working on Naruto's stealth. With the chasing of the deer to work on his conditioning and speed by itself, he just had to show Naruto how to get started on hunting the right way, or at least the more ninja way. Naruto had not made a bow and arrow because it required a lot of work, and it took a long time to make them. Not to mention the arrows themselves were a pain in the ass to make, and you really only got to use them once, usually. But Kakashi told him to go ahead and make one, and then hunt with it the way he taught him. Naruto started after Kakashi left. It took almost a month to make it. There were faster ways, but if Naruto was going to do it, he was going to do it the real and right way. One of the reasons that it took so long was the materials to make it were hard to come by, and took a long time to get. For example, he needed grease from fat to soak the string in and other pieces of the bow. In the end, it came out nicely. 1 year later, Naruto had been out in the wild for a little over a year and a half now. And he was almost 9. He really took the lessons that Kakashi had given him to heart. He practiced and did the exercises every day. He also pretty much lived with the weights on now. If he was carved out of wood before, he was chiseled out of granite now. His legs and knuckles could now deal a lot of damage. He didn't even feel it when he punched a rock now. He hunted the way Kakashi had taught him, and even came up with his own strategies. One thing he would do was dig a pitfall, and chase an elk into it. That way the big spikes at the bottom would do the job for him. He also realized that he couldn't possibly eat all of that meat by himself before it all rotted, even if he dried some of it out to make jerky. So he started to cut his kills into pieces and gut them right on the spot. He took what he needed: meat, the hide, the antlers, and a few bones. Then he just left it there and let the other animals finish it off. Though he found out one night that this did attract animals to his home. One night a bear climbed up the trees to get at him and his food. Of course he killed it, but it almost took him with it. And he had a giant scar on his back to prove it. He had to go to the hospital that time. He was lucky that the QB healed him up to an extent. Because of it, he wouldn't have as much of a scar, though it couldn't stop and get rid of it altogether. If he was hurt bad enough, he would still scar. So, what he took away from all of this was to hunt a ways away from where he slept. Something's missing, Naruto thought to himself. He couldn't figure it out, but it felt as if he wasn't doing something he was supposed to be doing. He couldn't figure out what. He did all of the exercises, and it wasn't boring. On the contrary, it was a lot of fun. He even got good enough to go and hunt in the jungle/forest where the huge animals live. But still, something was wrong. He tried to think of a time when he didn't feel that way, and what he had been doing at the time. Suddenly it came to him, and he grinned his nightmare of a grin, due to his teeth. He wanted to kill someone. He often thought fondly of the night that he had killed those kids and the smell of their blood on him. He couldn't wait to start to get paid for doing those things. He shuddered in ecstasy and excitement. Tonight's the night. He practically shouted at the emptiness around him. Actually, he wasn't home right now. He was on the Hokage monument/cliff on the fourth's head. In his opinion, the fourth was the most kick-ass Hokage of all of them. He was the only one that could kill the 9 tails. He ran back to his place to plot out and plan the rest of his night. Naruto was back in his old neighborhood. He figured that as long as he didn't go too overboard, no one would notice, or care, if a few tweakers or crackheads were killed. Actually, it was almost legal. He was simply going to put himself in a situation that he could just call it self-defense if he happened to get caught. So, that's exactly who he was hunting. He felt alive again, like he did that night a year ago. But he was a whole different kind of animal now. All of his senses alert, his body coiled to spring, he was almost shaking in excitement. As he looked down an alley, he saw a homeless person that was scratching himself non-stop. Score, first kill of the night. Naruto smirked to himself. A bum looked up and saw a kid walking down his alley. He looked closer and saw that the kid looked like he came from money. He looked around and saw that no one was nearby. The tweaker smiled to himself, sure that he was going to be able to buy some tar from his dealer. I'm not going to ask him for his shit. I'll just jump him and stab him to death and then go through his stuff, thought the man as he slowly reached for his knife, not getting up or moving as to not alert the kid to his intentions. But what he didn't see was the handmade bone tomahawk that the boy was hiding under his cloak. Naruto was trying to act casual, but it was so hard. With his unbelievable night vision, he saw the man go for a weapon and tense up, waiting for him to walk by. Naruto had his tomahawk in his right hand, just waiting. As soon as the older man jumped up and tried to stab Naruto, Naruto pivoted on his left foot, sliding his right foot back, turning his body to the side, making him a smaller target. As he did this, his left hand shot out, struck the guy's wrist, not to block or stop or grab the man's knife hand, but just to knock it away and more or less push it in a different direction. As he was doing all of this, his right arm cocked back and whipped forward. Naruto caught a look of shock on the man's face right before his tomahawk buried itself in his face. The guy tried to scream, but Naruto was already moving to prevent this. As he hit the guy, he kept his left hand close to his body. When he saw the guy was about to scream, he used the back edge of his hand, which he later learned was actually called a knife hand, to hit the guy in the throat. The guy was now obviously in a lot of pain, but Naruto didn't care. In fact, he was enjoying this moment. He started to smile without realizing it as he reached down and removed the tomahawk from his face. As he did so, some brain matter spilled out through the hole. Just for good measure, Naruto hit him 2 more times in the face, splitting his head open like a peanut. Whoever he was, there was no way anybody would identify him now. Naruto looked up and saw that it was almost light already. He frowned. His fun was only just starting, and there were so many different ways he wanted to kill people too. But this did give him a chance to test out the explosive note that he bought earlier that week from that ninja store. The owner had been hesitant at first to sell it to him. Even though the guy was cool with Naruto, he was still only 8. When he asked why he wanted it, Naruto answered truthfully that he wanted to see what it could do, and he wanted to blow up some watermelons he found. The guy just laughed and said okay, but he would only sell him 1. But he didn't end up using it on watermelons. Oh no, I've got a much better plan, thought Naruto as he grinned his nightmare of a grin. He wanted to get back at some of the rich people that had always spit at him and gone out of their way to hurt him. Like telling their kids it was okay to gang up on him. But he would get them back. Oh, what hit me? Kichiro moaned to himself. The last thing that he remembered was him and his friend Masao going through their take of that night. They had just robbed a ramen stand and were now counting what they had and what to do with it. Then there was nothing. He assumed that he was knocked unconscious. As he slowly adjusted to the light, he looked around. He wasn't sure where he was exactly, but he knew it was in the rich district of the town. This was because they were in an alley, but it was moderately clean. As he slowly got up, he looked to the left of him and saw his friend lying there with blood on the back of his head. Hey, wake up, Masao, we were robbed, he said in a pained voice as he shook his friend awake. They got their bearings together and looked around to see if there was anything around that was theirs. As it happened, both of their money sacks were just a few feet away, hidden under a trash can lid. They both got up and made their way to it. Naruto was ecstatic. They were finally awake. It was harder than he thought it would be. Knocking them out was the easy part. Getting them a mile into the rich district without being seen was the hard part. Then at some point they started to wake up again, so he had to hit them again. They couldn't wake up for a couple of hours. To make sure they didn't, he waited with them after he positioned them the way he wanted. After that, he set his trap and left when the shops opened up. Now he was across the street and on the roof of a building next to directly across where the alley was. With his eyes, he easily saw that they were waking up and he waited in anticipation as they went to retrieve their belongings. What they didn't know was that he had rigged them up so that the explosive note that he bought would blow after they lifted the trash can lid. But that wasn't the genius part of the plan. He watched from cover as they lifted it up together and then, boom. It was the perfect explosion. There wasn't a lot of fire, but more sheer force behind it. It blew them to pieces, literally. However, because of the angle they were facing, their body parts only had one place to go. Right across the street, into a now very busy daycare center. Because of the lack of fire, there was no cauterization, meaning that everything was still wet. All was silent for a moment as everything sunk in. It was the most hilarious thing Naruto had ever seen. All of the children and adults started screaming all at once. Naruto even saw one of the two boys' eyeballs land in a little girl's birthday cake as she was going to blow out her candles. There were intestines and other unidentifiable pieces of meat everywhere. Naruto was laughing so hard at the reaction of the kids, who were now covered in blood and other things. It was total chaos. As much as Naruto would have loved to stick around, he had to leave. This wasn't the undesirable area. There would be a full investigation. So Naruto left, heading straight towards the woods, laughing all the way. It had been 3 weeks since the bombing, and Naruto knew nothing about the investigation. He was just doing his regular routine of training at the moment, going over his forms for about the 10,000th time. Yo, Naruto, Kakashi said with an eye smile suddenly right next to him. Oh, don't sneak up on me like that, Naruto yelled as he jumped at the sudden appearance of Kakashi. Sorry, I thought you were better than that, said Kakashi in a lazy way, which Naruto just pouted at. Well, anyway, I need to ask you some questions, okay? Naruto nodded, knowing that he was going to be confronted eventually. He just hoped that a half-truth would be enough. When was the last time you were in town? Naruto just sighed. About 3 weeks, he said in a defeated tone, clearly sounding guilty. Kakashi was torn. I was afraid of this. I just hope I can somehow find a way to save him. Alright, you know why I'm here, so just tell me how you did it and why. Start from the beginning. Okay, I was out here doing my regular thing, but something was off. It took me a while to figure out what was wrong, but eventually I figured it out. Naruto took a deep breath, then looking at Kakashi, who just gave him a nod telling him to continue. I needed to kill someone. So I went back to my old neighborhood and let myself get jumped. I killed the junkie with my tomahawk, said Naruto, pulling it out of its holster in his cloak. I won't lie, I liked it. Looking up at Kakashi, he was surprised to see that the man looked relieved. Kakashi had been expecting this. He was just glad he caught it before Naruto got out of hand. Okay, I understand. This statement totally threw Naruto off. It didn't make sense. There's something he's not telling me, Naruto thought while he was narrowing his eyes in suspicion. I will let this go this one time, Naruto. He held one finger up to illustrate his point. But it can never happen again. I won't protect you if it does. If you need to kill something, come to either me or the Hokage and we'll figure something out. Okay? Naruto nodded as he hung his head. He wasn't sure why, but he still felt bad that he let Kakashi down. Subconsciously he knew there was something wrong with him. There always had been. These urges weren't new. His whole life he had tried to figure out what made him different from the other kids. And it wasn't that people hated him either, he just didn't get the other kids, and they avoided him. People could sense that there was something off with him. Kakashi looked at Naruto's expression, and he knew exactly what he was feeling, but he couldn't do anything about it. At least not yet. That was a conversation for another day. Hey, I do have some good news for you though. I got you into the ninja academy. Kakashi had another eye smile as Naruto looked up in shock. He never really believed that he would become a real ninja, maybe learn their moves, but he never thought that he would actually be accepted as one. You did? Naruto shouted, smiling, an actual smile absent from any sadistic intent. I sure did, but it doesn't start for another 5 months. Naruto almost had tears of joy in his eyes anyway. Come on, they'll treat you to the best ramen in the village. Kakashi did another eye smile as Naruto's face lit up again, too happy to be suspicious right now. It had been almost 4 months since Kakashi had confronted him. And he had to say that things had only gone up from there. Though Naruto was annoyed that Kakashi had neglected to mention that he had to have an interview with the Hokage himself before he accepted. This was an even bigger shock as Kakashi took him to see the Hokage right after they were done eating. This made Naruto very, very upset. Kakashi hadn't lied to Naruto when he said that it was the best ramen in the village. In fact, after one bite, Naruto declared that it was the best meal that he had ever had and stated that a statue should be built to honor the 2 nice people that made it. He also stated that the recipe should be added to the Hokage's library under armed guard. At this, everybody laughed as Naruto was somehow able to get that entire speech out in one breath. Because of this, the father and daughter had immediately taken a liking to Naruto. Naruto didn't get their names yet though. He was a social retard and didn't realize that it was polite to introduce yourself. After Kakashi broke the news to Naruto where they were headed next, Naruto almost did a spit take with some of his now sacred ramen. Naruto had yelled at Kakashi the whole way there as he had somehow forgot to mention that they were going to a meeting that would affect the rest of Naruto's life. Naruto was even angrier when he realized that Kakashi was reading his book and hadn't paid attention to anything Naruto had yelled at him for the last 10 minutes. Flashback. Are you sure you want this, Naruto? Said Sarutobi in a serious voice. Even though he already knew the answer. The life of a ninja is not easy. And the life expectancy isn't that great either. I'm probably the oldest Kage in history. And that's only because I was forced out of retirement. If you are serious about this and devote yourself to it, chances are that you'll be dead by the time you're 35, no matter how powerful you become. The Yondaime is proof of that. As hard as it was to say, it needed to be said. It was true, Naruto's father had become far more powerful than he had been at his prime, and he was once hailed as a god among shinobi. Naruto looked at the Hokage's face, and then to Kakashi's as these words sunk in. It was true, he had never thought that he would die young. But really, does it actually matter? I know this is what I was meant to do. I'm almost positive that I'll be happy doing this. And it's not like I have anything else to live for either, thought Naruto as he looked at the same serious/solemn expression on both of their faces. I want this, but still. I need to choose my words carefully, or rather, just tell them the truth. That's always worked out with them anyway. I understand what you're saying, I really do, Naruto said in an honest tone. But I can feel it inside me that this is what I was born for. I can't see myself doing anything else for the rest of my life. I know it may sound bad for my part, but I want to kill people. I don't know how to describe it. It's something that's been with me my whole life. I'm not saying that I'll go all psycho or anything on a mission. I know the difference between right and wrong, even if I don't care about it sometimes. But I do respect authority. And I will always follow orders. Naruto finished with an almost defiant look on his face. As if he was daring either of them to challenge the sincerity in his words. There was a moment of silence as both the Hokage and Kakashi studied him. Kakashi started first. I believe you, Naruto, and that's why I vouched for you and recommended you to the Hokage. I really do think that you will be an excellent ninja. Just don't screw this up. I've got my name riding on you. Kakashi warned. Naruto's eyes widened at this. He's putting his reputation on the line for me? I won't let you down, Kakashi-san. Kakashi just nodded at this. Now it was the Hokage's turn to talk. Okay, well, if that's settled, we need to move on to your living situation. Naruto had a confused look on his face now. Even if you're only in the academy, you're still considered an investment to the village's future. So, I can't have you living in an area so close to the forest of death. Naruto had a thoughtful expression on his face now. That makes sense, and I always knew that that forest was weird. I mean, how often do you see snakes the size of houses? But still, where are they going to put me? We have small apartments for exactly this purpose, the Hokage continued as soon as he saw that he had Naruto's attention. It's in a residential district in the northern part of the village. I think you will like it. Actually, I think you will have a good view of the Hokage monument. Naruto perked up at this. It sounded like a pretty decent place. You have 5 months until you start. I trust that you will keep out of trouble. He looked at Naruto with a knowing expression. Naruto gulped and quickly nodded. How the hell does he know? I just told Kakashi about it. Present time, Naruto had kept his word and stayed out of trouble. But that didn't stop him from training and earning money the way that he did before. The only difference for the moment was that he had a different place to sleep if wanted to. He also started to read up on shinobi tactics, or at least what he could understand. He found the perfect books for this. It was a series of books that were apparently for dummies. But he didn't mind, he figured that everyone had to start somewhere. He figured that he had better try and catch up, because it seemed as if not everybody could just get into the academy, and he was probably really behind on everything. What he didn't know was that for the most part, he was actually ahead. Even a civilian could just go to the academy, and enroll their kid when they became of age. Little did Naruto know that he was going to get a lot more prepared and fast. It stated with another visit with the monster. Oh shit. Naruto thought out loud. He was back in the sewer place that the demon lived. Might as well get this over with, he thought with a sigh. So he started heading towards where he knew it was caged. Hello boy, the monster said in its sinister drawn-out voice. I know you're not exactly pleased to see me, rest assured that the feeling is mutual. But since you are finally going to start at the Mortal Ninja Academy, it's time you got some real equipment. And what I mean by that is weapons that aren't made out of animal bones. Naruto flushed a little at this. He knew that by ninja standards his weapons were little more than toys. I am going to more or less give you a list of items to acquire. I don't expect you to get all of them right now. Actually, you won't need a lot of it for a little while. But start collecting it. When you wake up you will have the list in your head for a little while. Write them down immediately. You are too much of an idiot to remember all of it. Now Naruto was just pissed. What does this thing want from me? Naruto was just about to voice his thoughts when found himself in his new and comfortable bed. Though he did have cold sweat all over him. Just like the monster said, there was a list in his head, so he went and wrote them down. Looking over a fairly long list, he had never even heard of some of the things on it. He wasn't sure he could even pronounce some of it. Oh well, I might as well go ask someone about it, but who? Naruto went through the options he had. He could go to Kakashi, but he hadn't seen him since he led Naruto to his new apartment, and he wasn't sure on whether he was even in the village right now. He could go to the Hokage, but he doubted that the old man would see him over such a trivial matter. After all, it wasn't as if he was going to be using any of it anytime soon. After racking his head for a while, he finally decided that he should ask the man that owned the weapons shop in the rich district. The guy was always helpful, he knew what he was doing, and he wouldn't just blow Naruto off. So, Naruto got himself ready, and left to the rich section of town. Hello Tenchi, Naruto said in an almost happy tone. In case you haven't guessed, this is supposed to be Tenten's dad. I have no idea what his name is, so I'm just using this for now. If you know, let me know and I'll fix it. Oh hey Naruto, what can I do for you today? You can help me out with this list. I don't need all of it right now, I just need the basics of it. I'm starting the academy in a month, Naruto stated proudly. Alright, let me take a look. Tenchi's eyebrows rose as he eyed the list. Naruto, where did you get this list? There are some very advanced and specific items on it. Well actually, I can't tell you. I'm sorry, but I don't think you would believe me even if I did tell you. He just shrugged his shoulders at this. Well, it's none of my business anyway, but I'm sorry I can't help you Naruto. There are some very hard to come by and expensive things on here, he said tapping the list. In fact, I would probably have to make most of it myself. And just the basics wouldn't cut it either, you're just not good for the money. The simple stuff on here consists of about a quarter of the list. Even if we made a payment plan, it would take you a year or so to pay me off. I'm sorry, but it's just not worth it. He stopped as he saw Naruto's face fall. Oh damn it, I want to help the kid out. But I can't justify this, I'm not sure how much money I'd lose on this. As he was thinking of this, another idea came to him. He started smiling, which made Naruto nervous. You know what kid, I think I can work something out, at least for now. Naruto's face lit up again, but then came the inevitable suspicion. What's the catch? The catch is, Tenchi was still smiling as he was proud he had found a way around this little mess. You would have to come and work for me, you would have to help me out with everything around here as well as help me make some of this stuff, he said tapping the list again. In addition to all of this, you would have to follow a payment plan. You wouldn't be paid as all of that would go into this little project, but I still expect you to come up with the money on your own. He was now crossing his arms, as if saying, that's the deal, take it or leave it. It only took Naruto a couple of seconds to make up his mind. Done, Naruto said while sticking out his hand and shook the older man's gauntlet of a hand. How hard can it be, was what Naruto was thinking as he was smiling an honest smile. But he was in for a huge shock. Naruto was only a little worried when Tenchi said that he had to be at his shop at 4 in the morning. It was tough, but Naruto could do it. When he got there, the man was already awake and walked out of the city into a forgery by the edges of where the forest started. Then came the actual work. It was some of the most grueling physical labor he had ever done, made worse still as by now he had all but forgotten that he wore weights every day. The only times he took them off was to wash them, and when he showered. The first 2 hours consisted of prepping for the day. This in turn meant that he had to shovel a lot of coal and chop a lot of wood, or just carry it. There were also large pieces of equipment that had to be laid out the right way and prepped for use. Of course, Tenchi oversaw the whole thing and told Naruto what to do every step of the way. Besides the fact that Naruto was obviously mortified when he found out that the last 2 hours had just been prep time, and that now the real work started, he never once complained. As far as he was concerned, this was just strength conditioning. Tenchi then spent the rest of the day teaching Naruto how to handle molten metal, and what not to do. In addition, he also introduced Naruto to some of the slightly more advanced things that had to be done with making weapons so that he could help out during the actual process. At the end of the day, Naruto had succeeded in making 5 of his own very real and very sharp kunai. He also had a new understanding on why it was going to cost him so much to buy the things he needed. From what he could tell, it would take several days to make even the simple stuff. He couldn't even imagine how the rest of it was made. Thankfully though, Tenchi knew how sore Naruto was going to be, so he gave him the next day off with a warning to make sure that he moved around and stretched. He also told him to eat a lot of meat if he could. It had been 3 weeks since Naruto had started working for Tenchi, and he was just getting to the point where he was only a little sore when he woke up. Naruto had gotten a lot stronger too, but 10 hours of work as a smith will do that. After they got the basics down, they started to immediately work on his stuff. They didn't have that long to finish the stuff and Naruto was going to be there a long time. Even though some of the equipment was done, Tenchi still wouldn't let Naruto take it until he had given him his first payment. The only way Naruto was going to do that was with the weekends he got off. He had to come up with 50,000 yen a month. I think that's like $500. He also was going to have to work for him for at least 6 months. Right now, he was almost working full-time for him, but when the academy started, Naruto would only have to be there to prep things. But Naruto was fine with this. He knew he was getting a good deal with the stuff he was getting. Other than that, they made good progress. Almost all of his stuff was completed, and he had just gotten the money to make his first payment. Alright, here's the first payment, as promised, said Naruto, obviously excited while he was handing Tenchi the money. Alright, I trust you that it's all here. I've got all of your things in a case in the back of the store. Ask Tenten, she will know where it is. Tenten often handled the store when her father was at the forge. This was happening a lot recently. He said that he had to help out a boy named Naruto. At first she was okay with it, but then she met him. She was a little afraid of him, to be honest. His eyes and teeth were creepy, especially since he seemed okay with them. But that wasn't all. He just seemed to give off this almost sinister aura. It was like he was just waiting for an excuse to tear someone apart. But he hadn't done anything to give any bad impressions. Though he hadn't been overly rude, he wasn't all that polite either. She sighed. It was just going to have to be something she would have to get over and deal with. The bell rung, indicating that the door opened and there was a customer. Hello, how can I? Oh, hi Naruto. Speak of the devil, she thought to herself as Naruto walked up to the counter. Hey Tenten, I just need to pick up my things. I paid your dad, so he said to talk to you. Tenten just nodded at this and went into the back of the store. Whatever else he might be, he isn't a liar, she thought to herself. She wasn't sure why exactly, but she was sure of this. She came out a few minutes later with a big hard-covered weapons case. These were commonly used for transport and the storing of weapons. So do you want to go over the merchandise? Asked Tenten, praying that he didn't want to, but understanding if he did. There was a lot of stuff in there and a lot of money put into it. No, that's okay. I know you guys aren't going anywhere. I'll just look through it when I get home. Tenten just nodded, though she was sighing in relief on the inside. It would have been a pain in the ass if he had wanted to break all of it out right now. Alright, see you later Tenten, said Naruto as he walked out of the store with his weapons case. Tenten just waved at his back. Naruto was very excited. Sure had helped make most of the things in here, but they were just out of the forge the last time he saw them. It was Tenten's job to clean them up and finish whatever else needed doing to them. He was so excited that he didn't even notice the odd stares that people were giving him, as it wasn't every day one saw a child running through town with a weapons case half the size he was. Naruto was panting heavily, and in his room with the case unopened on his bed. All of the windows were closed, and all of doors were locked. It was the moment of truth. He slowly opened up the case and wasn't disappointed in the least at what he saw. Before they had started to make his things, they had to go over his personal preferences on them. After all, what was the point in putting all of this money and time into this if he wasn't going to make them his? His things were strapped to both sides of the case, making sure that everything had been securely fastened down. He decided that he would start with the basic things and move his way up. So the first things that he pulled out were 2 leg pouches filled with kunai and shuriken. He placed these on the far side of the bed. Next, he pulled out his first practice sword. It wasn't very long, and it had a straight blade. It wasn't curved like the longer katana. Actually, it wasn't actually made out of metal. It was made out of a very durable wood. But all the same, it was still dangerous as it did have a sharp enough edge to cut. The sheath was designed to be tied to his lower back, so it was more or less horizontal with his waist. But the end where the sword was drawn from, which was on his right side, was pointed at a slightly downward angle. He wouldn't need it for a little while anyway. He had been informed that he wasn't allowed to bring any actual weapons to the academy with him. Any and all supplies were provided for at the school. So really, he was just going to practice with this for a while. Actually, I need to figure out how to practice with it. I've never held a sword in my life, thought Naruto. Maybe I can get Kakashi to help him with that. Next, he moved on to the things that he would have for a long time. These were the most expensive items that he had, He also had seen the least of their construction, as he would have only gotten in the way. They were his new clothes. They were not complete though, as he had had it described to him. They had the ability to have many accessories added to them. So more or less, he could later add armor into the actual clothes themselves. The first step to putting them on was taking his old clothes off, and putting on the new rash guard underwear that he had to be worn for obvious reasons. These just consisted of a tight mesh tank top shirt, and a pair of breathable boxer briefs. Then, he put on his new pants. At first glance, they didn't look that different from any other ninja combat pants, but if you studied them, there were differences. For one, they were shorter than other combat pants, they only went a little below the knees. The straps that tied off the top of the shin weren't the only straps on them. There were actually several of them up and down each leg as well as some on the hips. However, for the most part, they were all inside the actual clothing, so most couldn't be seen unless you were looking closely. Then there were the many pockets on them, and not all of them were for carry-on things and weapons. There were actually pockets where he could slip in special plates of armor that adapted to the pants. These pockets were all over the place on all of the clothes, but he didn't have any of the extra armor to put in them. This wasn't that great of a concern for him, as he wasn't really going to need armor for years. Overall, after looking down at them, they looked like just slightly modified forest green camouflaged combat pants. But Naruto knew better. They were actually made out of special material that reacted to his chakra. But again, he wouldn't be able to use the features that came with them until he learned to actually use his chakra. They did look a little tight, but they would mostly be covered up anyway, and it's not like he cared what other people thought of his appearance. The next article of clothing was a heavy long-sleeved black turtleneck t-shirt. At least that's what it looked like at first. The same as with the pants, it also was adjustable to his size, though it didn't have any pockets in it. It did have the slots where the plates could go. And last but not least, came the overcoat. It was more or less a closed trench coat, but it had the straps so that it could be drawn tightly over the body if it was needed. Much like the shirt, it was jet black, except for a very deep crimson streak down the back. As for the coat itself, it had the most potential in regards to customization. So far, it was the only real piece of armor that he wore, as it was actually part of the clothing. What I mean by this is that instead of him being able to add in plates of armor like the rest of his wardrobe, it was already built into this. Because the coat looked like leather, although it wasn't, it was hard to tell that instead of the armor being fitted and designed around the cloth, it was the other way around. The armor plates were there to begin with, as in, an armadillo on his back, shoulder pads, although they weren't super pronounced like other pieces, and then the arm guards, a breastplate, and a piece that would cover his abdomen. Adding to that, it was all very flexible. All of it was already a complete and linked set. More or less, Tenchi had assembled and attached the armor together first, and then designed the rest of it building off of that. It was also created with that same material and other features that Tenchi hadn't bothered to explain, as Naruto was a kid and an idiot. The only item that was left in the case was Naruto's greaves. These covered the rest of his legs. They also had adjustable straps, though Naruto knew that these he would have to replace in a year or so. They let Naruto wear his chakra weights, they just tightened them up, covering his entire shin and ankle, and calves. His feet were not entirely exposed though. Connected to the greaves was a kind of shoe. All they really were was a sock attached to standard ninja sandals. So the greaves were put on like you would put a sock on. All in all, Naruto made a very imposing figure as he looked at himself in the mirror. He tried smiling his nightmare of a grin to add to the effect. He could say that without any ego that he looked terrifying. But I think the coat is a little overkill, at least for now, Naruto was thinking as he was taking in his appearance, and wondering what he was going to do about it. Well, I don't have to wear it right now, it's not like I'm going to outgrow it anytime soon. I don't need the armor for years anyway. With this in mind, Naruto took off his new coat and strapped on his old cloak. He didn't look as intimidating as before, but he really didn't care. He could always put the other one on if he needed it. There was also something else wrong with his appearance. It took a moment, and then it came to him. It was his hair. It was longer and very sloppy looking. He had always cut his hair very short before so that no one could grab onto it. But as he looked at himself, he realized that he didn't look that bad with slightly longer hair, even if it was sticking all over the place. It was just a little sloppy right now. He needed to get it cleaned up. But there was a problem with that. He didn't know of any place that he could trust to cut his hair without accidentally slitting his throat again. And he couldn't do it himself because he would just screw it up. Who can I trust to cut my hair? Naruto wondered out loud. You can trust me, said Kakashi, who seemingly appeared right next to Naruto with a pair of scissors in his hand, and a nice smile. HHHH, Naruto screamed, jumping at least 3 feet in the air. What the fuck is your problem? What, I thought you wanted help with cutting your hair, said Kakashi with a feigned innocent tone and face as if he wasn't aware of what he just did. That's not the point, yelled Naruto as his eyebrow was now twitching. Naruto glared one more time at the Cyclops, and then just gave in with a sigh. Alright, can you please cut my hair? Naruto thought about it, and then quickly added in. Without trying to humiliate me? Kakashi just stood there for a moment as if he was considering it, or he was actually going to try and humiliate Naruto. Sure, why not? Just take off your smelly cloak and your fancy new shirt and let's go in the bathroom. My cloak is not smelly, yelled Naruto, clearly offended. Whatever you say, Naruto. Well, I guess that it's not that bad of a haircut, Naruto said as he was examining himself in the mirror. Why, thank you, Naruto. And you're welcome, by the way, said Kakashi as he was examining Naruto's gear that he had left on the bed. Kakashi's eye caught on the practice sword. He was about to grab it but stopped midway. He looked over at Naruto and asked, "May I?" Naruto nodded and Kakashi picked it up to examine it. After he was done looking at it, he sheathed it and placed it back on the bed. Well, it's a good toy. But why did you buy this? Naruto flushed at this. Well, I have no idea how to use a sword in the first place. I felt that it would be stupid of me to buy a real one. But this actually wasn't the one on the list that I got. Apparently the one on the list is worth 5 times what I owe Tenchi already. Naruto, what list? Kakashi asked in a worried voice. Naruto went on to explain how he got it, and what the deal he made was. I see. Well, we can't have you practicing with a toy now, can we? He said with another eye smile. That's just it though. I don't even know how to practice with it. I don't even know the real way to practice with knives, Naruto said in a tone indicating that he had put a lot of thought into this. Kakashi was thinking. I now have the time to at least show him how to do the basics and help get him started. But how do I convince him? He'll just use the Kyuubi as an excuse. Well, if the demon wants you to use that kind of blade, then he'll just have to start to teach you the basics, Kakashi said with another eye smile. Thank you? Naruto offered. While he was very much relieved, this was a problem that he had been thinking over a lot. But at the same time, he couldn't figure out whether or not to be suspicious of Kakashi. Oh fuck it, the guy is so weird anyway, I might as well go with it. He's probably retarded in some way. Just wondering though, how is it that you have more time now? Thankfully Kakashi didn't have to lie to him this time. Oh, I retired from ANBU. So now I'm just an elite jonin. Why did you retire? Asked Naruto, who was very much interested in why someone would want to get out of the Black Ops unit. They were the best of the best. They got to fight the wars that no one heard about. Actually, that's exactly where he wanted to end up one day. Well, I just kind of got tired of it. You wouldn't understand, at least not yet. But it gets to you after a while. I just couldn't do it anymore, Kakashi said in a sad tone. It was true, he was tired. His last mission had been a couple of weeks ago, and it had gone bad. There was faulty intel on the target, and they were ambushed. It's hard enough assassinating sometimes innocent people, but when you lose your teammates, it's so much worse. 2 of his squad was now dead in a forest in unmarked graves, and his last member lost both of his legs. His career was over. If you stayed in it for too long, you either went crazy, or you just became an empty shell, even with the mandatory vacation time after 10 missions. There was also only so long a person was allowed to stay in ANBU, and he was nearing the end anyway. If he did want to go back, he would have to wait 5 years. He was right though, Naruto didn't understand. But Naruto knew that he had a lot to learn about that way of life, so he wasn't going to question or worry about it. So what now? Naruto asked, wondering what the next step was. He was actually excited. Well, you should know that I'm not going to be able to instruct you every day, or even every week. I have more time now, but I still have missions to do. Naruto nodded, expecting this. So I'm just going to show you some basic forms to practice with for now, just like the ones I gave you before. By the way, have you been practicing those the way I taught you? Naruto nodded again. Kakashi had been very descriptive about if he didn't put all of his concentration to do every move perfectly, eventually it would be way off and would just hinder him. Alright, I'm not doing anything for the rest of today, and I'll have a little time tomorrow also. So first things first, we need to get you a real sword. They had just walked out of Tenchi's shop with a brand new sword. There was a big difference between normal swords and ninja swords. And thus, they were a lot more expensive, which is also one of the reasons Naruto didn't get one in the first place. Naruto was so excited when they bought it that he didn't even think twice when Kakashi said that he could pay him back whenever he felt like it. Though it wasn't the blade that was on the list, it was still beautiful to him. The length was the same as the other one. From the end of the sheath to the end of the hilt on the opposite side, it was about 3.5 feet long. When Naruto held it, he was amazed at the craftsmanship. It was balanced perfectly with no weak spots on the blade. It would have taken almost 24 hours to make it. The sheath was jet black, but every 2 inches or so there was a very deep crimson diagonal line. Because the color was so deep, it made it very hard to distinguish the colors, making it look distorted to anyone not used to seeing it. It was almost dark now, and Naruto was absolutely exhausted. He had been working on just straight forms for the last couple of hours. Meanwhile, after Kakashi was done showing him how to do them, he just sat down and read. Of course, this pissed Naruto off a lot. Naruto was curious though, he had never seen anybody move like the way he was learning to. Both the sword forms, and his old and new forms that Kakashi had shown him, were different from any fighting style he had ever seen. When he had asked Kakashi about this, he said that it was an art that was rare and not many people knew it. Though Kakashi had lied, No one but the fourth knew that style as he had created it. It was designed to go along with his yellow flash technique. It was totally original. The style revolved mostly around agility and speed. Strength was defiantly required, but it wasn't critical, as in it you hit with speed that it wouldn't matter, especially because the style put you in positions that allowed you to hit critical spots. Naruto, however, was freakishly strong for his age even though he was small. As for the sword training, Kakashi had told Naruto that it was going to take a long time to get far at all with it. In fact, he wasn't even planning on showing him any other forms than the basic ones for the weapon. The fourth hadn't carried a sword, so it was up to Naruto to later on adapt it into his style when he got better at it. "Hey Kakashi, can I ask you something?" Naruto said after pushing himself into a sitting position. "Sure, what's on your mind?" he said in a neutral tone, putting his book away as he did. "I was just wondering exactly why you have to do these forms over and over. I mean, is this the right way to train?" Kakashi knew what he was really asking. He was asking if he was just getting a half-assed lesson when he should be under instruction all of the time. Kakashi gave a nice smile. "Yes, Naruto, everyone has to do their forms hundreds or rather thousands of times. Obviously you won't end up using your forms in an actual fight, but what it does do is build muscle memory." Kakashi stood up and adopted the teaching pose, to which Naruto just sweat dropped at. What doing the forms over and over again does for you is it teaches you the moves so that you can improvise any combination when you're fighting. You see, when someone punches at you, you automatically want to react. And because you've done the forms so many times, you have trained your body to react the right way on instinct. At first it will probably feel like you don't have any control over your body, and that your body has a mind of its own. Of course, you need a sparring partner to help with this. There is only so much you can do on your own. Real skill comes with experience. Kakashi finished with a finger raised. Naruto was suddenly full of energy again. "So can we spar right now?" Naruto said in an excited voice as Kakashi seemed to think on it for a second. "No, I'm too tired right now, we'll spar tomorrow," Kakashi said with an eye smile while Naruto just face faulted. Just as Naruto was about to start yelling at Kakashi, he remembered that he also had to work tomorrow. He could probably get off by noon, but still, it was going to be hell. It was finally the day, and Naruto was nervous. He was standing right outside the academy, even though he was at least an hour and a half early. But still, there were people dropping their kids off. Naruto was about to follow the other kids his age and go inside, when he caught sight of something that pissed him off. There was a boy his age with red markings on his cheeks, eyes with slitted pupils like his, and even elongated fangs. The kid was yelling at his mother to let go of his hand. He was disrespecting her in front of all of these people. Who the fuck does this kid think he is? Doesn't he know how lucky he is that his mom cares enough to walk with him? These and other thoughts went through Naruto's head. He decided that he didn't need any trouble, at least not yet, so he followed the kids that did go inside to his classroom. When he walked in, it was practically deserted. No matter how hard Naruto tried, he couldn't get the spoiled brat out of his head. He picked a seat in the back and glared at the door. He decided that a good way to kill time was to try and make the door burst into flames by glaring at it. Naruto just ended up zoning out and staring into space for an hour. But he was woken out of it by the sound of screaming banshees. They were two girls that had just entered the room, a blonde one and a pink-haired one. Actually, he had somehow missed most of the class getting settled in and the teacher getting set up on his desk in the front of the room. To Naruto's horror, the screaming girls seemed to be making a beeline straight for him, arguing over something called a Sasuke-kun. Naruto had just decided to ignore them. "No Ino pig, Sasuke is in love with me, so I should be the one to sit next to him." "Stupid, how could Sasuke fall in love with a huge forehead like you?" They just kept going at it. They stopped right next to Naruto's desk and continued their screaming match. Why don't they just fight and get it over with? That always a sure way to solve problems, was what Naruto was thinking while he was visibly twitching in anger. Finally, he had had enough. "Shut you yp!" Naruto screamed at them, getting the attention of everyone else in the room in the process. The two girls stopped for a second and blinked and looked at him, seeing him for the first time. "What are you doing in my seat?" They both yelled in unison. "What, are there assigned seats or something?" They both were just silent for a moment before the pink-haired girl took the initiative. "No, but Sasuke is in love with me, so obviously I should sit next to him," she said with the utmost conviction. "What are you talking about?" said Naruto as he turned to his left and for the first time noticed a black-haired boy who was glaring forward, much like Naruto was doing earlier. "Oh, well, tough, I got here first, find somewhere else," Naruto said, turning his attention to the teacher with a scar on his face as he seemed to be getting ready to start. Then the pink-haired girl hit him right on the top of the head. Naruto didn't hesitate. He pulled back his right arm and decked her straight in the face. Although he had the leverage to hit her with about a third of his strength, she was still knocked off her feet. There was dead silence in the room. Naruto looked around and everyone, with the exception of the Sasuke kid who seemed to be trying to hide his amusement, jaws had dropped. "What?" "She had it coming," said Naruto in a tone indicating that he had no remorse whatsoever. The girl was so shocked that it took her a full 5 seconds before she started crying. "Oh great. thought Naruto as he adopted a bored expression and sighed. Iruka groaned. It had been a very long day. After that little disturbance, for the most part the day went smoothly. Until the very end. Apparently Kiba didn't like the fact that Naruto asked about 100 questions every hour. Naruto had responded by calling him a spoiled brat and throwing a book all the way across the classroom that hit Kiba in the back of the head, much to the amusement of half the class. Iruka had been warned by the Hokage that Naruto was temperamental, and Sakura's black eye was proof of that. Iruka had just finished talking to Naruto after class and had explained to him that he was going to have to control himself. The only time that he was allowed to hit other students was outside when they were sparring. Naruto agreed to this very fast with a wicked smile. Iruka was scared. This was going to be a very long year. Iruka groaned. It had been a very long week, and it was probably going to be an even longer one next week. Every day Naruto found some magnificent way to get around the rules and shock the other kids. And every day he had Naruto stay after class and lectured him on why he was not allowed to do those things. The first day it was why he was under no circumstances allowed to hit girls, at least until he was in a real fight outside the academy. Even though Naruto took all of this to heart, and didn't do any of it again, he somehow managed to get around the rule and find another way to humiliate people. Iruka finally came to the conclusion that Naruto had no common sense, and he was going to have a very long talk to him on Monday, as he didn't have the energy to do it today. Though Iruka had a sneaking suspicion that Naruto knew what he was doing was wrong, but was doing it anyway just because he could. Today, he introduced advanced curse words to the other children. Alright, well if that's all, I will see all of you on Monday, said Iruka with his particular eye smile. What the hell, is it mandatory that all ninja have to close their eyes when they smile? Naruto thought to himself as he had never seen a ninja smile with their eyes open. Perhaps it has something to do with trust. It would explain it. I can't think of another reason why you would intentionally close your eyes in front of someone who could kill you, unless ninjas can somehow see through their eyelids. Iruka-sensei? Asked Naruto while he was raising his hand. Yes, Naruto? Answered Iruka, feeling nervous along with the rest of the class, as Naruto had a tendency to ask stupid or awkward questions, both of which ended in confrontation by one or more students in the class. When do we get to start the practical training outside? Asked Naruto in a tone indicating that he was eager, but trying to hide it. We'll start the outdoor training next week, okay? Answered Iruka in a relieved tone, though it was ruined when Sasuke shot a dirty look at Naruto and said, well, we might have been able to get some practical training in if someone wasn't at the reading level of a 6-year-old. Sasuke said in a venomous and sarcastic tone. Though Sasuke was exaggerating a bit, it was true that Naruto was behind in just about everything that had to do with book studies. But Iruka had been briefed about why, so he didn't make a big deal of it. For example, on the first day Naruto asked what the word written on the board education meant. At first everybody thought he was only being a smartass, until he started asking questions about every single thing he didn't understand in the book. This in turn meant that Naruto asked a question about every 5 minuets, much to the annoyance of the class. On the second day of this, the talk after school with Naruto was about why he wasn't allowed to throw things across the classroom. One student had finally had enough. He stood up and started to tell Naruto exactly how much of an idiot he was in front of the whole class. He had gotten through almost 2 sentences when a hard-covered dictionary hit him in the face. This was also the first time blood had been intentionally drawn in his classroom. Back to the argument with Sasuke. Go to hell, asshole! Naruto yelled at the boy sitting next to him. Sasuke, not to be outdone, got up and retaliated. Idiot, bastard! Yelled Naruto, who was now also standing up. Dumbass, cock-sucking faggot! There was a sudden gasp followed by a couple of events, some of which may never again happen. For one, the genius Sasuke was speechless with his mouth open. Hinata was not the only girl to faint. His entire classroom, including Shikamaru, was awake and completely silent. Naruto also had a pleased expression on his face. This didn't last long, however, as Ino got up all red in the face, getting ready to scream. Naruto saw that Ino was about to try and defend her Sasuke-kun's honor, and intervened. Oh, you can shut the fuck up too, bitch. It's Friday and I don't need any of your bullshit right now. Besides, is there another explanation as to why he turns down half the female population's advances, as you are pretty much offering to be his sex slaves? Hinata, who had just woken up, fainted again. Seeing that Sasuke was just about to start yelling again, Iruka finally spoke up. Enough. Putting some killing intent into it. Class is dismissed. Naruto, can you wait for me outside, as it seems we need to have yet another conversation? Sure thing, Iruka-sensei. Naruto answered in an easy tone free of worry and started to head outside behind all of the other kids. Iruka was rubbing his eyes with his palms. What am I going to do? I am spending a fortune taking him to that ramen stand for these little talks. I think he might just be doing this on purpose. Iruka just sighed and headed outside. What he saw, though, was a little shocking. Apparently most of the parents who were ninja waited for Naruto to have a talk with him. Even if most of them sympathized with him, they weren't going to let him corrupt the minds of their children. Okay, what do you guys want? Naruto asked/yelled with a defiant expression towards the crowd of parents. With Naruto's expression, he might as well have a fuck you tattooed on his forehead. Before anybody could talk though, 3 older boys in ratty clothes stepped forward. Naruto apparently recognized them because he got into his unique fighting stance. Well. Look at the little shit, thinks he's hot shit now that he's at the academy, and has new clothes, said one of them who Naruto was staring at with a shocked expression. Naruto had a good reason too, he looked exactly like the kid that he had almost killed him when he was 7. Maybe he is his twin brother? I know that kid is dead, but he doesn't know it was me apparently by the look in his eyes. It's worth a shot. Naruto took his eyes off the kid and looked at the kid in the middle. He was the only one whose name he knew. Daisuke, why did you come here? Naruto said while gesturing to the crowd and the sign that said Ninja Academy. Daisuke was a junkie and a hustler. None of why your business, said Daisuke while he was scratching himself as the other boys slowly surrounded Naruto. Do you have a death wish? Naruto asked Daisuke, and then he looked over at the kid who had to be the twin brother of the one he killed. Do you want to die? Your brother sure didn't, said Naruto in a sadistic tone with one of his nightmare smiles. The kid's eyes widened and then he got a look of pure hate on his face. Daisuke, seeing what was going to happen, tried to call out to him to get him to stop, but it was too late. The boy was already charging Naruto. It was happening exactly like Kakashi had said it would. It was like Naruto didn't have control of his body. The bigger kid came running at him with his fist raised. Naruto jumped slightly to his left and did a one-handed handstand with his left hand. While he was upside down, he kicked the older boy in the face with his right shin, which broke his nose, and knocked him on his ass with his face covered in blood. Naruto used the momentum from the kick to get back up. By this time the other boy was almost on him. Naruto just ducked below his punch and spun around and elbowed him in the solar plexus. Naruto grabbed his head and kneed him in the face twice. As he let the kid drop to the ground unconscious, he smoothly sidestepped Daisuke's punch, grabbed his wrist with his right hand, and used his left to punch his forearm as hard as he could. Daisuke's bones practically exploded out of his skin. As he was screaming, Naruto was tackled by the twin brother. Naruto was familiar with fighting on the ground though, so he used his smaller frame to his advantage. The kid had him in a half guard and was hitting Naruto in the face. Naruto took the beating and trapped the kid's arm with his the second he could. He used his arm as leverage and flipped the kid over. Naruto now had him in a mounted position and dropped an elbow on his face. You should have heard your brother squeal, Naruto yelled as he dropped another elbow, when I broke his fucking face. Naruto grabbed his hair with his left hand and hit him with his right. The kid was in trouble. Naruto had forgotten how strong he was. That punch had broken his cheekbone. But Naruto was having too much fun to care. As he pulled his arm back, he was hit in the face with a bat by the second kid. Hinata was torn, or rather worried. She didn't know who these kids were, but they wanted to hurt her Naruto-kun. Right after Naruto broke the Daisuke's kid's arm, she looked up to her father, Hayashi-san. Why isn't anybody stopping the fight? Her father, not taking his eyes off the fight, said, This is not our fight, and Naruto seems to be able to handle himself. I also suspect that everybody else wants to learn as much as they can about him, said Hayashi as he made a vague gesture towards everyone else who was just watching the fight and all. Hayashi was also impressed and disturbed. I never knew that children were capable of such brutality, thought Hayashi as he stole a glance at the other shinobi parents who had similar looks of shock on their faces as they heard Naruto scream at the kid he was beating. Someone needs to stop this now, he's killing him. Hinata was so focused watching Naruto beat the other kid that she didn't see the bigger boy with the bat till the last second. He hit Naruto straight in the face, launching him off the boy. Blood spurted out of his mouth too. As Naruto looked up with a dazed look on his face, he caught her eye. To her amazement, he just gave an honest smile with a wink and turned around to face the older kids again. Enough! Irika yelled with killing intent. Naruto wasn't happy about it, but he backed down. Naruto, go and sit over there until I get to you. I need to treat them first, said Irika as he carried a field kit over to the moaning kids. The parents were shaking their heads and were almost going to leave, but they were in for one more shock. I told you he wasn't human. Why doesn't anyone believe me? Daisuke yelled with a panicky look in his eyes. Naruto could tell where this was going. Daisuke, no one believes you because you're a crackhead. Crackheads make all kinds of crazy shit up, Naruto said after rolling his eyes. Daisuke, fear forgotten, just glared at Naruto. Your mother was a whore. He spat out at Naruto with venom in his voice. Naruto just shrugged. What's your point? He said as he spat out some blood and a sharp tooth. Hinata fainted at this statement. Hayashi just shook his head as he picked his daughter up and went home. The other parents did similar things with their children and left the scene. Irika sighed. It was over. After all of the parents had left, he had some medic means escort the kids to the hospital. He looked over at Naruto, who was waiting to see what was going to happen to him. Oh, screw it, Irika said, rubbing his eyes. Come on, we're going to have a talk over ramen. Naruto got up with a pleased look on his face. As they were walking to the ramen shop, Irika started the conversation with Naruto early. So Naruto, why do you think that your mom was, well, you know? Irika said in a nervous voice. Naruto just shrugged. Anyone dropped in an orphanage right after they're born is just the son of a whore who couldn't afford an abortion. Naruto said with a disturbingly uncaring voice, as if he was bored. Well, maybe it's not like that in the other areas of the village, but that's what it's like where I grew up. I see, said Irika in a sad tone. While Irika didn't know who Naruto's parents were, he did know for sure that his mother was not a hooker. It's too bad he thinks that. I wonder if he will ever find out the truth. Naruto was now devouring his sacred ramen at the Ichiraka stand. Alright, we need to talk about today, Naruto. I think we need to set a couple things straight. Naruto nodded as he finished his fourth bowl. It's okay, Irika-sensei, they started it. That one boy threw the first punch. Naruto said in a content voice. I know he did, Naruto, but you provoked him. The fact is that you can't do things like that anymore. I know you're new to these things, so I have been patient. And I can tell that you are trying. But ninjas do not do things because they can get away with them. Naruto was now paying attention with a confused look. Ninjas are expected to act with integrity and honor. Seeing the question that Naruto was about to ask, he answered it. Integrity has a couple of definitions. An example of one would be doing something nice for someone, even though no one would ever know that you did it. As for honor, well, I'm sure that you've heard what that is, but you're going to have to figure out your own definition for it. Everybody has their own version of it. As long as it doesn't conflict with the laws, no one will try and stop you. But just so you know, if you keep putting yourself in situations that allows you to kill or hurt someone just because you want to, or if you take advantage of situations, you won't be allowed to become a ninja. They both sat there for a little while. Naruto with thoughtful expression on his face. Does that mean that I should have tried to get out of that fight? He asked. Yes, but I understand why you did it. But I want you to try and act better, that includes cursing like that in class. Irika added with a bit of annoyance. Does this mean that I have to be friends with Sasuke-team? Naruto asked in an equally annoyed voice. Irika just laughed. No, you don't have to be friends with him, you just have to tone down the arguments, at least while you are in school. Naruto sighed in relief. By the way, I know you have a hard time reading, but I was told you read a lot of survival manuals and stuff. Naruto held up a finger asking him to wait a minuet as he was eating yet another bowl of ramen. Well, I really was only able to read and understand about half of it, the rest I figured out from the pictures. Naruto said without any form of embarrassment. Irika just nodded. Hey Naruto, Irika asked hesitantly. Yeah, Naruto said with a mouthful of ramen. Did you really kill that kid's brother? Irika asked, afraid of the answer. Naruto just finished his mouthful, glanced up at Irika, and kept his eyes locked with his long enough to say, yes. He said it without any hint of remorse, and then went back to eating his ramen. Irika just sighed. The next week went by smoother than the others. Mainly because Naruto was no longer sitting next to Sasuke. Flashback. Naruto walked into the classroom with a tired expression. He was just coming from home after a shower. Naruto had worked out a deal with Tenchi. It was basically that now that he was in the academy, he only had to prep his workstation and help out as long as he could until he had to leave to make it to the academy on time. Although it lowered the working hours that Naruto did, it was still exhausting work. This wasn't lost on Sasuke though. He was going to piss off and annoy Naruto until he couldn't stand it. Naruto saw the look that Sasuke was giving him, and he was too tired to put up with him. Naruto got an idea that would be a win-win situation for him. Before he went up the rows to his normal seat, he looked around for another seat. Finally he spotted one next to that weird pale-eyed girl that had health problems. Naruto turned back and smiled and waved at Sasuke. Sasuke, along with the rest of the class, was confused until Naruto sat down in his new seat. It took 5 full seconds before Sasuke's expression turned to one of horror, and then to a pleading look in Naruto's direction. It took an additional 5 seconds for Sakura and Ino to realize that Naruto had abandoned his post next to Sasuke. Thus a battle royal ensued between Sasuke's entire fan club. While Naruto was introducing himself to Hinata, she stuttered out her name, and then passed out when Naruto tried to check to see if she had a fever. Present, it was time for the outdoor stuff. The first thing Irika did was distribute blunted kunai and shuriken to everyone, and had everyone line up in front of their targets. During the time that all of the children were trying to hit bullseyes, only the Uchiha succeeded a couple of times. As expected, the first-generation ninjas from civilian families did horribly. Naruto didn't do all that much better. Naruto was used to throwing his crude and made tools, and he didn't practice that often. Irika could tell that he was pissed because of the way Sasuke was smirking as he at least hit the target log every time, and the squeals from his fan clubs didn't help much either. Next up were the races, and the obstacle course. Naruto was, to Irika's surprise, the best one. He was very fast, and very agile. Only Sasuke and Kiba could keep up with him, but neither of them had the stamina to keep it up. A fact that Naruto rubbed in Sasuke's face. After this it was lunch break, as most of the class was worn out by now and needed a break. For most of Kiba's life, he had been the fastest, or at least the most agile. Then that little twerp Naruto beat him, not to mention that the Uchiha kid was better than him too. Well, I sort of anticipated that Sasuke was going to be a little better than me, but Naruto? Kiba was fuming when he got his lunch. To add insult to injury, he saw Naruto talking to Hinata. Kiba was very protective of Hinata as he considered her his girl, at least for as long as he thought Naruto might like her. But really Naruto just wanted to ask about her condition that made her pass out all of the time. When Kiba saw them together, and Hinata blushing and touching her fingers together, he thought that Naruto was making a move on her. "Hello Hinata," Naruto said in a friendly manner. Hinata was a little afraid of Naruto, as she had seen him fight a couple of times, but she remembered when he saved her from those other kids, and couldn't help but develop a crush. Hello and Naruto, kun Hinata stuttered back. "I just wanted to ask you how you were going to be able to become a ninja, that with your medical condition," he said with a curious look on his face. Hinata was confused though, she had no idea what he was talking about. "I'm sorry, but what are you talking about?" Hinata asked with an equally confused look on her face. Naruto just gave an honest smile. "You know, about how you have fevers and fainting spells all of the time. Or at least you do whenever I see you," he finished with a thoughtful look on his face. Hinata was horrified though. "Oh no, he is going to figure out my secret," she was thinking. But luckily for her, her horrified face was the last straw for Kiba. This in turn saved Hinata from discovering how much of an idiot Naruto was when it came to these things, as he was going to suggest something along the lines of changing her diet. Naruto's look changed though when he realized that Kiba was charging at him looking to tackle him. Naruto just sidestepped though and tripped Kiba, causing him to fall and skid on his face. As Naruto got ready to fight, he remembered what Iruka had talked to him about. "Sorry Hinata-chan, but I have to go before the douchebag over there gets back up," Naruto said with a smile, while pointing a finger in Kiba's direction. Hinata just blushed at the curse word and nodded. "He called me Chan," were her thoughts as he walked carefully away, keeping an eye on Kiba to find a place to eat in peace. The next part of the testing was the stealth and survival portion. This wasn't that important for academy students, but they did it nevertheless. Iruka wasn't surprised when Naruto did the best out of everyone. He even beat the Uchiha, thought Iruka, seeing the dirty look that Sasuke was sending Naruto's way. Only the kids from ninja clans did moderately well in this part. This wasn't considered crucial training for most clans when their children were so young. Naruto was also the only one who knew how to correctly set a spring trap. After this, the last exercise of the day was the taijutsu part of the exam. Naruto was not the best, but he was damn close. While all of the children from clans had been training longer, Naruto had some things that they didn't have, such as experience and resolve. His experience helped him win his first round against Sasuke. While Naruto was beaten by Sasuke's technique, Naruto took the punch that gave him a bloody nose, and allowed him to hit Sasuke back. Sasuke was shocked at the first time he was really hit, and the first time seeing his own blood in a real fight, at least it was for him, that it allowed Naruto to get the win. Sasuke got over it fast though and beat Naruto with ranged attacks like kicks and such. He figured out that Naruto relied on getting close and using his unreal strength to overpower opponents. This wasn't actually Naruto's style. It was true that Naruto was using some of the moves that he was taught by the forms, but he was still a street fighter at heart. It would be a while before he would trust his style completely. While Naruto was pissed that he couldn't beat Sasuke, he decided to just train harder for next time. He would have loved to have gotten a chance to fight Kiba, but this was not a tournament, it was just an evaluation of skills. Naruto's and Sasuke's fight was the only one where blood was drawn actually. After that, they were allowed to go home. Naruto left the second that he could. He decided that he was going to try and hunt by throwing kunai and shuriken now. This turned out to be a disaster however, as Naruto didn't catch anything in the little daylight he had left. It was clear to him that he was going to have to practice a lot more before he could hunt like that. Unfortunately, he didn't get a lot of time to practice. With his mornings occupied working, most of the day at school where they mostly just did book work, he also had to actually catch animals to sell, and he also couldn't miss out on his regular exercises. After that first match with Sasuke, Naruto decided to do his forms for both his regular and sword techniques 2 times more a day. This left him very little time to practice throwing things. He reasoned that he wasn't going to be working forever, and he could always just wait another few months. So that's exactly what he did. It had been a month since the testing. The testing was only to determine the skill ranking in the practical portion of their study. That, however, only took up about 1/5 of the overall study time at the academy. For the first 2 years, all academy students had to focus on their indoor book studies. Naruto found the history part fascinating though. He was especially interested in any and all battles that were recorded for learning purposes. Not that it really surprised anybody that was following Naruto's education, as in Kakashi and the Hokage. Even though Naruto still could not read all that well, he was actually okay at math. Iruka guessed that this was due to him having to figure out prices and add in the factor of how much people would rip him off. At least Naruto did try very hard. Iruka at first only took Naruto to Ichiraku Ramen to talk to him about how to behave in class, but after a little while, he did it just because he could. Naruto was of course suspicious of him, so he just told him the truth that he wanted to get to know him better. After Naruto understood this, he slowly started to open up to Irika and tell him about his life over ramen. This obviously disturbed Irika a lot. He was not sure how to react to that. Naruto was limping to the academy. He had gotten jumped by a couple of masked ninja that he was no match for. Even though he fought back, he got the shit kicked out of him. After he cleaned himself up as much as he could, he decided that he might as well go to the academy anyway since he was so close. Irika was kind of worried and relieved. Even though he had announced to the class that today was Parents' Day, he wasn't sure that Naruto understood what that meant. Naruto wasn't there. This was unheard of. Usually, Naruto was at least an hour early. I wonder if he just didn't want to be around this, thought Irika as he looked around at everything going on. Almost the entire class's parents had shown up. Parents were being shown the work the kids had done by the kids themselves, and later everybody would go outside for the sparring session. Of course, Sasuke Uchiha was alone, as usual, sitting up at his desk with a folder with all of his work in it. But something was off. Sasuke was a lot meaner and distant than usual. The parents and Irika knew what it was, but the kids didn't, especially his fangirls. This resulted in a few harsh words between Sasuke and the other kids until they figured that he wanted to be left alone. But Irika noticed something. Sasuke kept looking at Naruto's empty desk. As soon as Naruto walked in the room though, everyone got quiet real fast. He looked like shit. He had a fat lip, a black eye, and the right side of his face was scraped up very badly. You could tell that he had cleaned himself up, but it still looked bad. It was over as quickly as it began as the parents redirected their children back to their work. Irika approached Naruto as he sat down and looked around. "Naruto, what happened to you?" Irika said in a concerned and hushed voice. But Naruto seemed distracted, as he was looking around at everyone's parents in confusion. I got jumped by a couple of chunin in masks. They thought that they could erase graffiti off a wall with my face," Naruto explained in an offhand way as he was still distracted at all of the commotion. "Hey Irika-sensei, what's going on here?" Irika just sighed. "It's Parents' Day, remember? Did you get a look at any kind of identification? Were they from the police force?" Naruto was still confused. He wasn't sure what to expect, but this wasn't it. "No, I didn't really see anything other than that they were wearing those flak jackets." Irika just nodded. There really wasn't anything that he could do, and besides, he doubted that the police force would do any kind of real investigation. Irika just got Naruto a warm towel and left him alone. But things only got worse for Naruto and Sasuke. At first Naruto was just content to sit at his desk and do nothing, but he was starting to get pissed, and he didn't know why. He couldn't help but look around and see all of these other kids all happy with their parents. It pissed him off, and it was only getting worse. There was still another 3 hours before school was out, and Naruto was now seething. He didn't notice, but Sasuke was feeling the same thing. Naruto was just sitting quietly at his desk. All of the activities and laughter around him was bringing up his hate. He didn't want to look around. He hated them. Every last one of them. Every single one that was laughing and smiling with their parents. He didn't have a choice but to focus on his hate. It built off the kids, their parents, and the kids' stupid work. After a while, just being in the room was starting to give him a headache. He was feeling lethal right now. All he wanted to do was beat every single one of them till there was just paste left. He wanted someone to set him off. The parents for the most part tried to keep everything away from him and Sasuke, who was thinking similar things. Unfortunately for everyone, Kiba was still mad at Naruto for humiliating him in front of Hinata. Kiba walked up to Naruto's desk while his mom wasn't paying attention on the other side of the room. "Hey Naruto," Kiba said in a mocking tone with a smile, "what's the matter? Was your mom too ashamed to come and see your work?" He said again in a mocking tone. A couple of things happened at once. Sasuke's killing intent flared. Kiba's mom was on the other side of the room, and because of her clan's affiliation to dogs, she heard what Kiba had said and was starting to panic because of it. Both Irika and his mother started to run to get Kiba away from Naruto, but it was too late. Naruto stomped on Kiba's ankle, between his foot and shin. When Kiba closed his eyes and winced in pain, Naruto grabbed his head. Naruto was able to smash Kiba's face on his desk 3 times before he was grabbed. The first time just hurt Kiba. The second time it broke his nose and blood spurted all over his desk. The third time his desk actually splintered a bit and threatened to break. If Naruto wasn't stopped, he would have broken his desk with Kiba's face before he beat him to death.